Chapter 293. Oh no. Xiong Chumo's face grew sullen. Clearly, Qi Yan's wind blades couldn't deal with the creatures of other dimensions that had bone shields. Everyone was at a loss as to what to do. Finally, this group of invincible gods became normal contestants, showing a state of helplessness. The audience in front of the television was worried for the students, but at the same time, they were also relieved. That's what normal awakened high school students should be like. Who would beat up a gold-level boss? Are you still human after what you just did? What's going on? Han Jiangxue hurriedly broke the array and threw out chain lightning again. Crackle! The bone shields that were riddled with scars from the wind blades were blasted apart under the output of the violent thunderbolts, causing bone fragments to fall all over the ground. On the other hand, bones were continuously growing out of the bodies of the ancient warriors, and bone shields were growing out. Not only that, but there was also a shocking scene that appeared. In order to protect its underlings, the soul of the ancient warrior actually summoned a huge bone wall. The broken bones on the ground piled up and continuously gathered in front of the ancient warriors, who were also growing bones at a crazy rate. They then continuously fell to the ground and became new materials for the bone wall. The bone wall was made of eerie white bones and was advancing forward. It was stable, solid, and meticulous. Behind the bone wall, the ancient warriors roared loudly and the muscles on their arms were bulging. Their skeletal arms were also working hard to push the bone wall forward and stop the rules awakened from attacking. The wind blades, lightning, ice, and fire had all lost their effects, and the ancient warriors were approaching the crowd step by step, making the audience extremely nervous. Without sound of silence, how dangerous would it be to seize the initiative? It was just that huge. In such a situation, Jiang Shao had already thought of a suggestion to escape. After all, the other party had sacrificed speed and vision in order to reduce casualties. Hence, they could just turn around and run away. However, Han Jiangxue seemed to have gotten carried away, or rather, she was too confident. Li Wei. Han Jiangxue suddenly called out. Here, Li Wei hurriedly answered. Use Scorch later. Blast all the ancient warriors away. Han Jiangxue strode forward and took the lead. I can't use lightning when we're fighting at close quarters. Lu Yang and Xia Yan, make sure to harvest their heads. As long as their heads remain intact, they'll be able to live forever. You. Han Jiangxue looked at the shield warrior from Kainan province. Ah? The boy subconsciously stood at attention. Even when he reacted later, he did not relax his body. He thought to himself, Beijiang's commanding aura is too strong. Han Jiangxue said calmly, carry your flower shield and charge forward with the two shield warriors from Tianjin, as well as Jiang Xiaopi and Kai Yao. Remember your only mission, and that is to melt the arrows of plague that are shooting towards us. The shield warrior from Kainan province nodded hurriedly. The other shield warriors could also block the poison bolts, but they couldn't melt them. So, the poison bolts would definitely release a poisonous mist. On the battlefield, any small detail could determine victory or defeat, or even life and death. Han Jiangxue waved her hand, and Sky Smasher appeared in front of her. She then said to the shield warriors from Tianjin, He Fan and Zhang Qinzhou, your only mission is to protect Kai Yao and Jiang Xiaopi. The two shield warriors looked at each other. They also had the intention to retreat and did not want to continue attacking head-on. Hence, they looked at their commander, Kai Yao. Han Jiangxue said to Kai Yao and Jiang Xiaopi, your only mission is to find the soul of the ancient warrior and silence it. Leave the rest to me. In just dozens of seconds, Han Jiangxue had already formulated a detailed battle plan. Her thoughts were clear and her words were concise. The audience was mesmerized by the scene. An excellent commander not only had to be intelligent and powerful, but he also had to be able to control the situation and unite the hearts of the people. If one said one thing, no one would dare to say another. If one said to fight, no one would want to retreat. The crowd, who were initially a little flustered, once again had only one goal left in their mind. Hence, they put all the messy thoughts at the back of their mind. Han Jiangshue's aura was too strong, and she directly took away Xiong Chumo's authority. Even Kai Yao from Tianjin did not raise any objections. The commander of a team was the brain of the team. If a commander was calm, wise, and had strong tactical attainments, it would not be an exaggeration to say that he or she could make a team undergo a complete transformation and increase their combat effectiveness. Pay attention. Han Jiangshu watched as the bone wall pressed towards her and the piles of bone dregs actually disappeared in front of her, inch by inch. Gold quality star technique? Sky Smasher. Everyone finally saw the shape of Sky Smasher, which was an irregular large oval. Why could they see it? It was because the bone wall presented a large oval shape. Li Wei tilted his head and listened attentively. All of a sudden, he said, "Move a little to the left 10 centimeters." Han Jiangshu raised her eyebrows and put away Sky Smasher. She then activated it again and moved more than 10 centimeters to the left. Behind the bone wall, an ancient warrior tomahawk was roaring maniacally and the veins on his pale face were bulging. He was trying his best to push the wall forward, only to discover that the bone wall had lost its weight. Why? Why can't I breathe? Han Jiangshu suddenly put away Sky Smasher and retreated before activating Sky Smasher again. Li Wei also took advantage of the time difference to enter the bone wall and stomp on the ground. Beijiang Star Technique? Scorch. The flames of the explosion were dyed in layers and the heat waves were overwhelming. Although they did not cause any fatal damage to the ancient warriors, they were thrown out. The bone wall that was moving forward finally came to a stop, and a lot of it was blown up by the flames. After the sound of the explosion, Han Jiangshu hurriedly put away Sky Smasher in front of her while Xia Yan's body was burning with flames. She then plunged into the gap of the bone wall. Lu Yang's eyes glistened and he hesitated for half a second before darting out too. Han Jiangshu then caught up and the flames in her hand spurted out. In the chaotic corridor, the screams of the ancient warriors could be heard clearly. "Friend, go! Go!" Jiang Shao urged the shield warrior of Kainan province loudly. He had really forgotten the boy's name. The opportunity was fleeting and he had to seize it. Besides, it was already at this juncture. If he didn't go up, the people who went out of the gap of the bone wall would likely be attacked by poisonous arrows. Oh! The shield warrior of Kainan province hurriedly scurried out and raised his arms, after which red roses suddenly grew out of his arms. A flower shield that was covered in layers of rose blossoms and overflowing with fragrance took shape. The shield warrior from Kainan province took the lead and ran forward quickly. People always said that fighting with fists and passion was the romance of men. Wrong. Terribly wrong. Jiang Shao finally knew that there was a higher level of romance. The shield warrior of Kainan province was carrying 999 roses and fighting passionately with others. If he won, he would marry the other party. If he didn't win, he would be buried on the spot. The flowers had already been prepared. The old song that was popular on the internet more than a decade ago, "Funeral of Roses," was probably written about this scene, right? Behind the shield warrior of Kainan province were the shield warriors Zhang Qinzhou and He Fan, as well as Jiang Shao, who carried out the orders decisively, and Kai Yao, who remained silent. In the end, she still obeyed the arrangements. However, the situation was not as smooth as she had imagined. In the process of the team charging forward, the broken bones all over the ground suddenly condensed and grew several long bone spikes. Silver quality star technique? Bone prison. Although it was called the bone prison, during the formation of the bone prison, the bones could also be used as bone spikes to hurt the target. He Fan! Kai Yao exclaimed, and the entire team tilted to the right because a bone prison rose from the ground and trapped He Fan. He Fan slammed into the bone prison that was pieced together. The speed of the bone prison's formation is too fast, isn't it? The soul of the ancient warrior is hidden at the corner of the wall in front on the right. Zhang Qinzhou had always been able to receive more information and reckoned that he probably had the same star technique as Li Wei. Without hesitation, Jiang Shao looked at the corner of the corridor that was dozens of meters away and threw out a sound of silence. He also absorbed a gold-quality fallen shadow witch star bead. At this juncture, life was at stake and it was definitely not the time to be frugal. Good steel had to be used where it mattered. Enmity, gold quality LV1 LV2 counter, current light, gold quality LV1 LV2 sound of silence, gold quality LV3, 9 out of 100, LV4, 9 out of 100. Feeling the star power in his body recovering rapidly, Jiang Shao placed his right hand behind his back and gripped the hilt of the giant sword tightly. 5,000 years. It's finally my turn. Chapter 294. Roar. A muffled roar came from the corner of the wall. It was filled with extreme anger, and it sent chills down anyone's spine. Jiang Shao narrowed his eyes and locked onto the location. I've finally found it. Jiang Shao pulled out his giant sword and urged the shield warriors in front of him to move faster. He couldn't wait to give the mages and archers a good lesson in melee combat. Hey! The shield warriors from Kainan province once again used the rose shield to intercept the poisonous arrows. Zhang Qinzhou reported while carefully guarding the two doctors, feeling extremely stressed. The doctors from Kainan province were still fine as they hid behind him obediently, but the doctor from Beijiang province was rather reckless. You're a doctor, yet you're urging us to move faster? Do you want to join the battle so that you can slash people? Zhang Qinzhou initially thought that the giant sword behind Jiang Shao was just a decoration, but it seemed that the toxic healer from Beijiang province could really lift it. Are you a proper doctor or not? Yes. I'm indeed a doctor. I'll think about whether I'm a proper doctor or not. Plop. All of a sudden, a strange sound interrupted Jiang Zhao's teaching plan. The sound came from the arrows of plague. They weren't absorbed by the rose shield of the Kainan province shield warriors? Instead, they exploded? What's going on? The ancient warrior poisonous archers were enlightened. They no longer drew their bows and shot arrows at the enemy. Instead, they shot upward at a special angle. The two poisonous arrows pierced deeply into the stone roof, and then exploded. The dark green poisonous fog spread out instantly, and everyone hurriedly held their breath. However, the poisonous fog didn't seem to need to be breathed into their bodies, and it seemed to affect their minds as soon as it touched their skin. Seeing that their tactic was working, the ancient warrior poisonous archers shot out poisonous arrows one after another, causing the entire corridor to be filled with poisonous fog. The team immediately stopped in their tracks, and Jiang Shao even felt a little dazzled. In a daze, Jiang Zhao's body swayed a little, and he gripped his sword tightly while leaning on the ground to maintain his balance. Healer, don't do this to me. I've already bragged. I've even sung the lyrics. Why did the poisonous archers suddenly erupt? Are you guys deliberately going against me? Do I not want my pride? In the midst of the poisonous fog, Kai Yao did her best to toss out a silence, silencing the two poisoned archers. However, the poison archers' formation was scattered, and they all had their own bunkers to defend against the students' charge. Jiang Shao couldn't care less. Taking advantage of the fact that he was still slightly poisoned and had yet to lose consciousness, he threw Sound of Silence again. His target was still the soul of the ancient warrior. The soul of the ancient warrior was the main contradiction. As long as it was controlled, Han Jiangxue and Xia Yan would be able to rush over and provide support. Although Blessing couldn't break the frozen body or extinguish the flames, it should be able to cure the poison from the inside out, right? Jiang Shao cast a blessing on himself and gritted his teeth, but in the end, he still hummed. Healing himself was really cool. Don't panic, the shield warrior from Kainan province roared. The shield of roses on his left hand fell to the ground, and when the beautiful petals fell to the ground, they quickly withered, as if he had just woken up from a dream. No. He had yet to wake up from his dream. Then, an even more beautiful dream came. A white flower immediately bloomed on the left hand of the shield warrior from Kainan province. 2, 3, that was a holy white, that was a pure lily. The faint fragrance of the flowers filled the air and was refreshing. The contestants who had been infected by the poisonous fog and were feeling dizzy and nauseous were quickly healed after smelling the fragrance of the flowers. Jiang Shao shook his head vigorously, and his vision returned to normal. He wasn't sure if his blessing had taken effect, or if the charming fragrance of the flowers had taken effect. However, looking at how everyone around him seemed to have been healed, Jiang Shao understood that the fragrance of the lilies was really impressive. The shield warrior from Kainan province was rather thin, but at this moment, he looked extremely majestic in the eyes of everyone, and his aura was at least 2.8 meters tall. The shield warrior from Kainan province held the rose shield in his right hand and continuously waved the lily shield in his left hand. Although he couldn't disperse the poisonous fog in the corridor, he could ensure that everyone would not be hurt in the poisonous fog. Jiang Shao saw the menacing figure at the corner of the corridor through the poisonous fog that was not too thick. The soul warrior's face was full of anger and indignation, as if he would slaughter everyone if he didn't leave. Damn it! Without hesitation, Jiang Shao threw another shot of Sound of Silence. Immediately afterwards, counter-current light connected to the other party's body. Not only do I want to share your star power, but I also want to use your star power to silence you. Are you convinced? How dare you poison me? How dare you? Wait, I seem to have offended the wrong person. Misunderstanding, misunderstanding. Jiang Shao blinked and thought to himself, the soul warrior is even more aggrieved than me. He has been unable to use his star techniques because of Sound of Silence, but he's as stubborn as a donkey and refuses to leave. He's trying to suppress the violent star power in his body with his own power. Charge! Jiang Shao held the shoulder of the shield warrior from Kainan province and yelled, once and for all, charge! While speaking, Jiang Shao frantically threw Sound of Silence at the end of the corridor. The ancient warriors were smashed by the Sound of Silence, and their faces turned red. Compared to their originally pale faces, Jiang Shao had put on makeup for them. Ever since Jiang Zhao's countercurrent light was connected to the soul warrior of the ancient warrior, his star power seemed to be free as he threw out Sound of Silence one after another. Jiang Shao felt extremely comfortable, and he felt like his star power was inexhaustible. While running, the shield warrior from Kainan province's rose shield in his right hand continued to grow larger and larger, shielding him and Jiang Shao behind him. The movements of the ancient warriors were very strange. They did not turn around and run away. Instead, they retreated while continuously pulling their bows and shooting arrows. They were probably still trying to mobilize their star power in an attempt to attack the enemy as soon as they got out of the domain of Sound of Silence. Raise your shield! Raise your shield! Jiang Shao and the shield warrior from Kainan province cooperated well. Jiang Shao shoveled on the spot and made a soccer tackle before darting out from under the shield and slashing with the giant sword in his hand. The ancient venomous archer hurriedly dodged backward, but Jiang Zhao's attack was like a continuous stream of water. Since his first attack failed, he made use of the momentum of the giant blade to leverage his feet and flipped diagonally in the air. He quickly approached the ancient venomous archer and slashed down with the giant blade. The ancient warrior from Kainan province's upper left shoulder to the lower right kidney was instantly injured, and blood gushed out. At the instant Jiang Shao landed, he pounced like a hungry tiger pouncing on a sheep. The giant sword was long to begin with, and the forward thrust instantly skewered the ancient warrior from Kainan province. The shield warrior from Kainan province was stunned. Damn it, you're telling me that he's a healer? Silver quality 100 kills, skill point +1. Xia family swordsmanship upgraded to silver quality level 9. Wow. Awesome. The information in the internal star map made Jiang Shao a little stunned, but he was also overjoyed. Out, out, out. The soul of the ancient warrior, who was in the distance, clearly felt the rapid loss of star power in its body. A thick and dark line was inserted into its body, like a large water pipe that was pouring its star power into Jiang Zhao's body. The soul of the ancient warrior roared angrily and finally stopped being stubborn. It did not have the capital to be stubborn anymore. Hence, it staggered and limped towards the back of the wall. Whoosh! The soul of the ancient warrior, which only had half of its body exposed, suddenly tilted to the side. At the next moment, a golden flame whip pierced through the layers of poisonous fog and wrapped around the pale face of the soul of the ancient warrior. The goddess of snow has arrived, and all living beings have retreated. The soul of the ancient warrior shrieked in pain. Even though it had been dragged out of the sound of silence, it still did not have the mood to use its star technique. Instead, it kept using its pale hands to scratch the golden flame whip on its face. Han Jiangxue tugged it forcefully and added a shot of barren wind. She then raised her left hand in front of her and activated Sky Smasher. Whoosh! The screams of pain stopped abruptly, and the soul of the ancient warrior fell into Sky Smasher, disappearing from this world. Xia Yan and Lu Yang dashed out from both sides of Han Jiangxue and dashed towards the remaining few ancient archers. Has the battle at the rear ended? The three-team alliance won? Jiang Shao shook the giant sword in his hand and thought to himself, since the melee fighters have already gone up, there's really nothing left for me to do. We won just like that? I haven't even exerted my strength yet? Everyone immediately snapped back to their senses and cheered. We won! We won! Damn it, we actually won? Han Jiangxue walked towards Jiang Shao and reached out to pull him up. She asked with concern, "Are you hurt?" "No." Jiang Shao hurriedly shook his head, but Han Jiangxue's concern reminded him of the key figure just now. He turned around to look at the shield warrior from Kainan province. "Friend, your lily shield is really a stroke of genius. Without it, the people in this corridor would have probably died from the poison. I haven't asked for your name yet." The shield warrior from Kainan province seemed to be in high spirits as he raised the lily shield in his left hand and said with a smile, "My name has something to do with lilies too." Jiang Shao looked at the white lily shield and asked in bewilderment, "What do you mean?" The shield warrior from Kainan province said, "My surname is Bai. On the day I was born, my father gave my mother a bouquet of lilies like this, so my name is Bai." Jiang Shao choked and coughed. Han Jiangxue was speechless. Chapter 295. The cheering crowd only stopped after a long while. Although they were all experienced awakened students, they were still 18 or 19-year-old youths, after all. How could they be as calm as the old guys? Not to mention them, even if a group of old fellows under the Nebula realm were to come, they would probably jump high in joy if they managed to annihilate the team led by the soul of the ancient warrior without losing a single soldier or general. Everyone quickly put away their star beads, and the next problem arose. When facing a strong enemy, everyone could temporarily put aside other factors and fight the enemy together. However, after the enemy was destroyed, the issue of reward distribution was placed on the table. This problem should not be underestimated. If it was not handled well, it could completely cause the originally closely allied team to fall apart. None of them spoke. They occupied the place where the soul of the ancient warrior had once led the team to rest. Under normal circumstances, the ancient warriors were divided into teams, and there was no such thing as racial unity. As long as they saw another team, there would be an intense conflict. The team led by the soul of the ancient warrior was very strong, so there shouldn't be any other ancient warrior teams that would cause trouble while the students were resting there. The 3 hollowed stone walls could be considered to have created a room for everyone. The young people recovered their physical strength, star power, and calmed down. Xiong Chumo held a bunch of light blue flowers in her hand, and the charming fragrance filled the room. everyone's star power slowly recovered, which was definitely a double enjoyment for both the soul and the body. Han Jiangxue finally broke the silence. After such a long time, she was sure that the soul of the ancient warrior had already died. Hence, she opened the sky smasher and dragged its corpse out. The group of ancient warriors only looked like zombies, but they were not real zombies. Instead, they were creatures of other dimensions that couldn't survive in the sky smasher. But then again, if they were real zombies, would they be able to survive in the sky smasher? Jiang Shao had no idea, because zombies only appeared in movies and television dramas. He had never seen one in reality. Han Jiangshue's actions attracted everyone's attention. The soul of the ancient warrior was worth the most points among all the creatures of other dimensions in the ancient imperial mausoleum. It was worth as much as 80 points. The 8 minions led by the soul warrior only had 10 points each, and their total points were the same as the soul warriors. Han Jiangxue placed the corpse of the soul of the ancient warrior on the ground and retreated back to Jiang Zhao's side. She then said to the representative team of Kainan Province, "According to the rules, the star bead of this ancient warrior belongs to you." After hearing her words, the rules awakened Qi Yan, the shield warrior by Yiping, real name by Yiping, and the melee warrior Shen Xing couldn't help but have a good impression of Han Jiangxue. On the other hand, Xiong Chumo was a little excited and blushed. She was a little embarrassed. Logically speaking, Han Jiangxue was fully in command of the battle just now. Although there was a small interlude in the middle, the outbreak of the Arrow of Plague, Han Jiangshue's thoughts were clear, and she assigned tasks clearly. She led everyone to defeat the ancient warriors. As for the victory of the small team alliance, there was no doubt that the contribution of his commanding would be the greatest. Besides, Han Jiangxue was the one who personally killed the soul of the ancient warrior, and Jiang Shao was also the one who had been controlling the soul of the ancient warrior. No matter how one looked at it, Han Jiangshue's team contributed the most to the battle. Although the shield warrior by Yiping had an outstanding performance, it was not enough to take the credit. Besides, the other members of his team did not perform well in this team battle, either. "Let's distribute according to our contributions," Xiong Chumo said meekly with a slightly flushed face. Upon hearing her words, Jiang Shao couldn't help but raise his eyebrows and think, the students of Kainan Province are not only unrestrained and romantic, but also very particular. Rules are rules. If you don't abide by them, there's no need to set them. This is a barren dimensional space in the first place. The only thing that supports the close alliance between the three teams is the moral restraint in our hearts, as well as... Han Jiangxue stretched out her index finger and gently tapped the headband on her forehead. As well as this small camera. Han Jiangxue looked at everyone with a cold expression and said calmly, "Besides, for some teams, this camera won't play any role in restraining them. If Xiong Chumo were a selfish person, there wouldn't be so many problems." Han Jiangxue didn't care about the interests of others, nor did she do it out of kindness. She just needed the operation method to continue operating effectively. With this kind of team alliance, everyone's safety would be doubled. Scores were important, but their lives were more important. Or perhaps, all of this was just a reward given by Han Jiangxue to Bai Yiping? To reward this shield warrior from Kainan Province for protecting Xiaopi? Xiong Chumo said, "I suggest that we change the distribution system and distribute according to our contributions." At the side, the team from Tianjin had other thoughts in their mind. They were fundamentally different from the other teams. They were very strong. To be exact, the team from Nankai High School was so strong that they could enter the semifinals alone. Why did they form an alliance with Team Beijiang? On the one hand, it was to get a better feel for the strength of the Dark Horse team. They had long been paying attention to the team that had emerged out of nowhere. They did not believe in the judgment and predictions of the media because they had their own analysis and evaluation. The team from Nankai High School from Tianjin had done thorough research and analysis on the well-known strong teams, but they had their own judgment on the team from Jiangbin High School from Beijiang that people rarely paid attention to. This team was very likely to be the team they would meet in the semifinals. Hence, the team from Tianjin wanted to find out more about the team from Beijiang. On the other hand, the team from Tianjin also wanted to give their members a layer of insurance. As a seeded team, they didn't want any accidents to happen during the preliminary round. With Jiangbin High School by their side, they would be able to deal with the gold boss-level team of creatures of other dimensions and the alliance of other schools with ease. However, the situation was a little complicated now. Lu Yang and Kai Yao secretly looked at each other, and they could see the complicated emotions in each other's eyes. Without a doubt, the Dark Horse team from Jiangbin High School had been solidified. Not only had it been solidified, but it had also begun to infringe on the interests of the team from Tianjin. They now knew that the Dark Horse team from Jiangbin High School was truly a godly team. Besides, there was indeed a true god among them. As the commander, Han Jiangxue had already surpassed the ordinary students in terms of commanding, combat, tactical attainment, and execution. The so-called ordinary students were the real elites of the league, and yet Han Jiangxue was still superior to the elite students selected from the various provinces. That was enough to explain a lot of problems. If they were to be distributed according to their work, Jiangbin High School from Beijiang would definitely be ranked ahead of Nankai High School from Tianjin and Shifu from Kainan Province. There were only 8 places for the semifinals, and the overall strength of the team representing Tianjin was through the roof. They wanted to stand in front of the godly team from D Capital and say, "Do you have the guts to be a king or a general?" Without a doubt, such an ambitious and capable team would never be inferior to others. Kai Yao initially thought that she would be the leader of the other 2 provinces, but because of the superb personal qualities of one of the students from the other party, she was directly suppressed by the other party. It would be fine if the student was just a soldier, but the key was that she was a commander. That also directly caused the leader of the team from Tianjin to become the second in command. That was a huge problem. Seeing that Lu Yang was walking over, Kai Yao whispered, "I know what you're thinking. Since she's willing to abide by the rules, the weapons on this level will belong to Beijiang, and the weapons on the next level will belong to us. When we get the weapons on the next level, we'll propose to leave the league." Lu Yang nodded his head imperceptibly and said, "This team is really King strong, especially this sister." Kai Yao smiled and shook her head, feeling rather carefree. "I almost became a worker. Let's part on good terms. I suggest that we give all the star beads to Kainan Province this time. Let's not raise any objections." Lu Yang nodded and agreed with Kai Yao's suggestion. He fiddled with the star bead in his hand and walked over. Chapter 296. Time: 10 a.m., May 6, 2016. It was the second day of the competition. Location: Chang'an City's ancient imperial mausoleum, dimensional space, 4th floor. There were a total of 12 people in the 3 teams. They were either sitting or lying down in a stone room. Zhang Qinzhou was panting heavily, his face flushed and his forehead covered in sweat. Clearly, he had just experienced a tough battle. The others were not much better, especially Lu Yang, who did not have the demeanor of an expert at all. He was lying limply on the ground, and would probably fall asleep immediately if he was given a pillow. With the presence of Bai Yiping and Xiong Chumo from Kainan Province, the threat of the ancient archer generals was reduced to a minimum. However, the gold-quality boss-level ancient archer generals were still terrifying, especially the sacrificial arrow, which really made them suffer. Under normal circumstances, Kai Yao from Tianjin and Jiang Shao from Beijiang would both have the sound of silence, and they would take turns to silence the other party. The key was that the team guarding the treasure chest on this floor was led by a shameless couple. The combination of the soul of the ancient warrior and the ancient archer general had refreshed everyone's perception of the creatures of other dimensions. Have you ever seen an arrow shoot out of the hole in the bone wall? In the eyes of everyone, it was a solid bone wall, and they could only see the bones intertwined and squeezed together. In the eyes of the ancient archer general, the bone wall was its natural barrier and also a special shooting range to test their skills. The arrows were shot out of the holes in the bone wall and aimed directly at everyone's heads. No one could stand it. The ancient archer general could say, "I have no other skills, but I'm familiar with them." The ancient archer general could also say, "I have no other skills, but I'm familiar with them." The arrows that shot out from the bone wall almost turned everyone into sieves. After resting for a while, Kai Yao fiddled with the modern composite bow in her hand, which was the special weapon that belonged to the fourth underground floor. She said, "Our fate ends here." The representatives of Beijiang and Kainan province looked at Kai Yao, but they also knew that it was inevitable. In the past day, Kai Yao had given everyone a heads-up. Especially at the third underground floor, this alliance team encountered an alliance team composed of two teams from Haisu and Zhejiang provinces. After a conflict almost broke out between the two sides, Kai Yao vaguely expressed her dissatisfaction with this speed. Yes, when everyone rushed to the treasure chest on the third underground floor, the two teams from Haisu and Zhejiang had already succeeded. Jiang Shao and the others also saw a familiar face, Wenrenmu. In front of everyone, he put a steel gun into his storage space. His movements were unhurried. No one had any conflict with the other team. Even a fool knew how terrifying the team members of Haisu and Zhejiang were, especially when these two teams were led by Wenrenmu. They were one of the top teams in terms of overall strength in this year, and they were also the seeded team for the semifinals. Kai Yao directly gave up on the idea of snatching the treasure chest and urged everyone to go down to the fourth underground floor. On the fourth level, everyone was attacked by waves of ancient warriors. Perhaps it was because there were too few contestants on the fourth level, the ancient warriors were wandering around, and the flames of war were spreading everywhere. Wars were breaking out all the time. Even before Jiang Shao and the others arrived, there was a fierce battle going on within the ancient warriors, and the scene was extremely chaotic. There were arrows all over the sky, bones piled up, and ice and fire intertwined. However, there were also some benefits to it. At least, they managed to pick up a lot of loot. On the fourth floor, before they found the treasure chest room, each team had already earned 190 points, which was about the same as the points for the treasure chest weapons. It was also on the fourth underground floor that Jiang Shao sensed the changes in the team from Tianjin. To be exact, it was the changes in the shield warrior Zhang Qinzhou. Compared to the first three floors, Zhang Qinzhou could always find the treasure chest weapons quickly because of his sharp senses. On the fourth floor, Zhang Qinzhou had lost his special ability. He led his team to search everywhere. Although it could not be said that he was completely clueless, he ran into walls everywhere. That was how the three teams got 190 points each. Jiang Shao wasn't sure if the other party was pretending, or if they really didn't have any more information on the fourth underground floor. However, judging from the other party's anxious behavior, Jiang Shao didn't think that they were pretending. The team from Tianjin was considered to be wearing shoes, at least compared to the teams from Beijiang and Kainan provinces. There was no need for them to waste time on the two teams from Beijiang and Kainan provinces. In other words, the time of the team from Tianjin was more precious than that of the team from Beijiang. Finally, hard work paid off, and the three teams still found the treasure chest room on the fourth underground floor. Of course, they also encountered a medium-sized team led by the soul of the ancient warrior and the ancient archer general. What should they say about such a combination of ancient warriors? There was only one sentence to describe the ancient warriors: disgusting, disgusting, disgusting. Fortunately, None of the other participating teams had found the weapons on the fourth underground floor yet. After a tough battle and many hardships, they managed to annihilate the other party. No one wanted to see such a stable alliance disband, not Beijiang, not Kainan, and not even the team from Tianjin. However, they couldn't be inferior to Jiangbin High School. What they needed was an assistant, not a leader. Kai Yao smiled elegantly and her face was flushed due to the strenuous exercise. She gestured to everyone and said, "This ancient Archer General Star Bead is a parting gift and an apology for our withdrawal. It's also a thank you gift for helping us find the weapons on the fourth floor even though you know that we're leaving. If we're fated, let's meet in the semifinals." If it were a month ago, or even a day ago, someone said to the team from Beijiang Province, "If we're fated, let's meet in the semifinals," they would probably be criticized by the netizens. However, after an entire day of actual combat, they had to admit that the team from Beijiang Province was really something, even though many people were unwilling to admit that they were a dark horse and didn't want to see the original dominance be broken. If they wanted to leave, how could they force them to stay? Besides, Lu Yang, Kai Yao, and the others had already done their best. According to the rules, the star beads should belong to them this time, but they kept the ancient Archer General Star Bead. It was not to be underestimated, as it represented 50 points. Some teams in the ancient Imperial Mausoleum had yet to obtain even a single point, and they had been living in fear all day and night while fleeing. 24 hours. It was neither too long nor too short. In the past 24 hours, everyone went through life and death together, experienced many battles, rested together, ate together, and fought together in the cruel ancient Imperial Mausoleum. It would be unrealistic to say that they didn't build up some comradeship. However, the reality was that some teams were there to seek cooperation, some had the idea of breaking the historical record, and some had the ambition of reaching the top of the leaderboard. Everyone had their own aspirations and couldn't be forced. The people from Tianjin left. Kai Yao left very calmly. This time, she didn't take advantage of the fact that no one was paying attention. Instead, she winked at Jiang Shao in front of everyone before turning around to leave. The thug from Tianjin was even more suave. This time, he didn't nag at Jiang Shao and simply waved his hand casually before gradually disappearing at the end of the corridor that was filled with corpses. The group of 8 watched the 4 of them leave, and the scene was also displayed in front of the computer screens of the audience through the camera. This scene added a tinge of sadness to the endless fights and killings in the competition. Everyone was working hard. The group of children with special talents had been filled with sweat, tears, and blood since the moment they awakened. They trained day and night and competed day and night. It was as if they were constantly struggling between victory and defeat, or even life and death. Everyone had witnessed how terrifying the ancient Imperial Mausoleum was. If they were careless, they would die without a complete corpse. But even so, this group of people still left the alliance and left resolutely. Han Jiangxue sighed softly and stared at the figure that disappeared at the end of the corridor. She gently held Jiang Zhao's arm. She knew that from the moment the team left, there would only be 2 outcomes for them. They would either withdraw from the competition or come out on top. There shouldn't be a situation where they didn't make it to the semifinals because they were strong and knew what they wanted. They were willing to fight for it at all costs. Han Jiangxue seemed to have found someone of the same kind. She asked herself honestly and felt that she would make the same choice if their identities were swapped. There would always be such people in this world. They were not understood by most people. Because they would rather die than lose. Chapter 297. Star Power Abundance Leveled Up. Silver Quality Level 2. Jiang Shao, who was sitting against the wall and cooking soup, suddenly received such a piece of news in his internal star map, which made him a little bewildered. Star Power Abundance? If it weren't for the sudden upgrade, Jiang Shao would have almost forgotten about that basic technique. Yes, star power abundance was classified as a basic technique, and its function was described as speed of condensation and recovery of star power. There were a total of 4 basic techniques in Jiang Zhao's basic techniques section. 1. Freehand combat, silver quality level 4. 2. Star power abundance, silver quality level 2. 3. Dagger mastery, silver quality level 4. 4. Xia family swordsmanship, silver quality level 9. The levels of Jiang Zhao's freehand combat and dagger mastery had been fixed for a long time, probably because Jiang Zhao didn't study them hard anymore. Look at the Xia family swordsmanship, didn't it just increase by 1 level? Jiang Zhao was very certain that those freehand combat, dagger mastery, and swordsmanship could all be improved through training. However, star power abundance was a little different. Jiang Zhao wasn't sure how to train it for the time being. Was absorbing star power considered training? Jiang Zhao had been through many hardships along the way and entered many dimensional spaces. The duration and intensity of his training were obvious to all. When he was resting, Jiang Zhao would basically absorb star power automatically. In other words, the basic technique star power abundance should be constantly trained. However, just now, when Jiang Zhao was cooking soup and absorbing star power at the same time, the basic technique was only upgraded by a small level. Maybe it's because the requirements for upgrading this basic technique are very high? Jiang Zhao wasn't too sure. Maybe there's a special training method for this basic technique? But I haven't found it yet. Anyway, this basic technique could reach silver quality because Jiang Zhao used his skill points to upgrade it. The sudden message today made Jiang Zhao feel a little at a loss. This basic skill was related to the speed of condensing and recovering star power. If he could upgrade this basic skill to a higher grade, such as gold, no, gold would not be enough. Platinum, or even diamond, would his star power be inexhaustible? Since it was so difficult to upgrade it automatically, he would need a large number of skill points to upgrade it, which would be a huge expense. What are you daydreaming about? Xia Yan walked over and half-knelt on the ground. She held the bowl in her left hand and picked up the ladle in the small pot with her right hand. She stirred it clockwise and began to scoop the soup. Everyone's backpack was filled with military rations distributed by the government. The quality of military rations produced in China was guaranteed. If they ate sparingly, it wouldn't be a problem for them to last for 72 hours. At this moment, the Rainbow River Alliance had already risen to a higher level. Unlike the teams that were scurrying around and hiding, the 2 teams, Beijiang and Kainan, were in the mood to cook soup. In the beginning, Jiang Zhao wanted Xiong Chumo to add some flower petals to the soup, but she rolled her eyes at him. He had to admit that the lady's gentle eyes were much more delicious than the soup. Sigh, a feast for the eyes. Ever since the Tianjin team left, our efficiency has been much lower. Xia Yan held the bowl in her right hand and took a sip of the seaweed tofu soup, feeling that it tasted good. She then dug around in the backpack with her left hand and tossed a pack of compressed biscuits to Jiang Zhao. Jiang Zhao grabbed it in a flurry and helped her open the packaging of the compressed biscuits before handing it back to her. You can't compare it according to the efficiency of the first 3 floors. There are more students there in the first place, and it seems that some teams are not familiar with the terrain of the first 3 floors. Jiang Zhao paused and changed the topic. At least, you have to compare it according to the environment of the 4th floor. After going down to the 4th floor, Zhang Qinzhou was clearly no longer familiar with the terrain of the Tianjin team. Xia Yan grabbed the compressed biscuit with one hand, seemingly enjoying the tacit understanding between the 2 of them. She didn't say anything, but he knew what to do. Indeed, he deserves to be a god-level support. Xia Yan turned around and leaned against the wall with Jiang Zhao. She then took a bite of the compressed biscuit. The compressed biscuit was like a mooncake with a crispy crust and a floral fragrance. Jiang Zhao took out a can of braised pork from the backpack. He was already salivating just by holding it in his hand. Wow, the military provisions of China are way too impressive, aren't they? Xia Yan took another sip of soup and looked at Han Jiangxue and Xiong Chumo, who were chatting in the distance. She said, I initially had some unrealistic fantasies, but it seems that we have to take it one step at a time. Jiang Shao poured a mouthful of the can into his mouth and asked in a muffled voice, What do you mean? Leave a mouthful for me, Xia Yan said as she stuffed the compressed biscuit into Jiang Zhao's hand and snatched the can of braised pork. Jiang Shao was speechless. Indeed, both of them were carnivores. After Xia Yan ate the braised pork, her eyes seemed to have lit up and her face was filled with bliss. Jiang Shao took a bite of the biscuit and heard Xia Yan's explanation. I initially fantasized about getting into the top 8, but it seems unrealistic now. Don't be discouraged, we still have time, Jiang Shao comforted. Xia Yan pursed her lips and said, The team from Tianjin has been gone for a long time, but we're still wandering around on the 4th floor. We can't even find the entrance to the 5th floor. The ancient imperial mausoleum was indeed too huge. Without a guide, Jiang Shao and the others once again stuck close to the wall. Until now, they had yet to find the entrance to the 5th floor. The entrance to the 5th floor was easy to find because the guardians were guarding the entrance. Hence, the man-made stone chamber was huge and filled with torches. In the dim ancient imperial mausoleum, it was rather eye-catching. Jiang Shao was amused. How do you know that they've already gone down to the 5th floor? Maybe they've lost their way too. The crisp and clear chirping of a bird attracted everyone's attention. A yellow-green bird flew over from afar and landed on Xiong Chumo's head before hopping back and forth. Xia Yan's eyes lit up and she looked at the beautiful girl in the distance with anticipation. Xiong Chumo initially looked like she had a lot on her mind, but when she saw the bird returning, she immediately put on a beautiful smile. She held the bird in her palm and gently stroked it with her fingers. She then held it in front of her face and rubbed it. Han Jiangxue looked at the scene in front of her and didn't say anything to interrupt the reunion. She could sense that Xiong Chumo was really worried about her pet getting hurt or dying. However, it seemed that the ancient warriors were not interested in the bird at all. Or perhaps, the bird was agile and didn't get hurt? The bird had just gone out to look for the entrance to the next floor. It would be impossible for it not to encounter the ancient warriors. Xiong Chumo spread her palm and stared at the bird in her hand. She finally heaved a sigh of relief. Baby, Mommy missed you. Why were you gone for so long? You really scared Mommy. However, before Xiong Chumo could finish speaking, the bird flew away and landed on Jiang Zhao's head. Xiong Chumo was speechless. Everyone looked over and Jiang Shao felt a little awkward too. He broke off a piece of compressed biscuit and put it on his head. The birds chirped. They gave him face and really ate it. Hey, have you found the entrance to the next floor? Jiang Shao asked as he raised his head and tried to communicate with the bird. The yellow-green parrot hopped from Jiang Zhao's head to his forehead. No matter how Jiang Shao shook his head, it always remained at the highest point. After hearing Jiang Zhao's question, the yellow-green parrot not only ignored him, but it also turned around and stopped eating the biscuit. Hey bird, why are you acting like a woman? You got angry just because I said something wrong? Are you ignoring me just like that? Jiang Shao looked up at the bird on his forehead and couldn't help but complain. Han Jiangxue and Xia Yan were dumbfounded. Xiong Chumo and Xin Xing were dumbfounded. Li Wei, Bai Yiping, and Qi Yan nodded in agreement. Jiang Zhao's eyes lit up and he raised his head. Do you want me to kiss, hug, and lift you up? Xiong Chumo rolled her eyes at Jiang Shao and said, It's not that it's ignoring you. If you ask it if it has found the entrance to the next floor, it should be facing that direction. So that's the case? I've misunderstood you. Feeling a little awkward, Jiang Shao was about to say something when he heard a voice. Brother! All of a sudden, the entire stone corridor fell silent. The bird actually spoke. Jiang Shao looked at the bird in surprise and thought, Isn't this too intelligent? Xiong Chumo was dumbfounded. She had been raising it for several weeks, but she never knew that it could speak? Could it be that this fellow is really a parrot? Immediately afterwards, the yellow-green parrot twisted its head to look at Xiong Chumo and called out, "Mommy." Xiong Chumo was a little dumbfounded and she took a while to react. Huh? Jiang Xiao was speechless. The yellow-green parrot lowered its head and pecked Jiang Zhao's forehead. "Brother." It then turned to look at Xiong Chumo and said, "Mommy." Jiang Xiao was dumbfounded. What kind of lousy bird is this? Are you two teaming up to take advantage of me? Jiang Xiao grabbed the bird off his forehead and barked fiercely, "Call me Daddy." Chapter 298. Every assistant has the heart to be a father. Daddy Xiaopi, please give me some milk, just one. Okay, Daddy Xiaopi, it's my birthday today. Can you give me a kowtow? Daddy Xiaopi, your bird is so small, smiley emoji. Su Ro looked at the pop-up comments in the livestream and couldn't help but twitch the corners of her mouth. At this moment, Jiang Xiao was walking forward obediently. The birds above his head were chirping and jumping around, but Jiang Xiao dared not be mischievous anymore. After all, well, I've just wiped off the shoe prints on my butt. Xia Yan looked at Jiang Xiao, who was walking beside Han Jiangxue, and couldn't help but snicker secretly. She hadn't seen Han Jiangxue enforce the family rules for a long time. Yet, she had such a huge reaction just now. Could it be that she doesn't like her sister-in-law? Little Chumo from Kainan Province is so beautiful and gentle. She's also a rare medical awaken. She should be more than enough for Xiaopi, right? Could it be that? Does Han Jiangxue think that Xiaopi isn't good enough for her? Is she afraid that Xiaopi will harm her? The more Xia Yan thought about it, the more she felt that it should be the case. Under the guidance of the birds, they really found the entrance to the next floor. It was a dark corridor of stone stairs that was so dark that they couldn't even see their fingers. Li Wei raised his long-handled warhammer high, which was burning with flames. The large torch served as a good source of illumination. Everyone spiraled down and finally reached the bottom, only to see a huge stone door in front of them. Stone door? What's going on? Why aren't there any on the first few floors? Li Wei raised his burning warhammer and shone it around, but he didn't find any mechanisms. Xia Yan also walked up and raised her burning giant sword to illuminate the heavy stone door from top to bottom. To everyone's surprise, the stone door was extremely exquisite, and there was a huge portrait of a person carved on it. Xia Yan got a great shock and subconsciously took a step back. The portrait of the person on the door did not have any color and was just composed of simple lines. However, the carvings were lifelike and vivid, making them afraid that it would come back to life at any time and jump out to attack them. What's going on? Jiang Xiao asked softly. Do the ancient warriors have such talent in painting? Han Jiangxue said with certainty. There's never been any information about that. Jiang Zhao's eyes lit up. Could it be man-made? Han Jiangxue asked. Jiang Xiao shrugged and said, the base camp of the Guardians should be behind the door. Those soldiers are stationed here every day, aren't they? Han Jiangxue nodded, deep in thought. The question now was this door the only one that was carved by a certain guardian, or were all the carvings on the stone walls on the first few floors done by him? If it was the latter, then the amount of work required would be extraordinary. Jiang Xiao stepped forward and gently placed his right hand on the stone door. He touched the huge portrait of the soul of the ancient warrior and asked, Do you guys smell it? Sniff, sniff. Everyone hurriedly sniffed around, their noses twitching. Everyone looked at each other. They really didn't smell anything. In particular, Li Wei, who was the only contestant with perception, was filled with doubts. What do you smell? Why don't I smell it? Xiong Chumo couldn't help but ask, What do you smell? Jiang Xiao gently stroked the large and exquisitely crafted portrait on the stone door with one hand, lowered his eyes, and sighed softly. The smell of loneliness. Xiong Chumo was speechless. The others were dumbfounded. In Jiangbin City, Su Ro, who was biting on the straw and sipping on the lemon pomelo tea, spat it out. Ahem, ahem. Su Ro coughed and hurriedly pulled out a tissue from the table to wipe the camera. You're the first streamer to spit on me. I'm following you, don't throw away the lemon pomelo that you've finished. Send me the straw and let me have a few sips. Zhou Tsang, come out and get beaten up. King of Toughness? Is that you? King of Toughness? Why are you wearing Jiang Xiaopi's clothes? King of Toughness? Zhou Tsang from Qiqing High School, when did you participate in the competition? Zhou Tsang, it's all your fault for leading Papa Xiaopi astray. I'm going to punch your chest, oh, carrot, oh, by Yipring. Li Wei strode forward and pushed away Jiang Xiao, who was posing with his head lowered. He then called out to the shield warrior from Kainan province. Coming. Bai Yiping walked forward and held onto the heavy stone door with Li Wei. 1, 2, 3. The huge and heavy stone door slowly opened, and there were several figures standing at the door, giving everyone a great shock. After taking a closer look, they realized that they were from the Guardians. The soldiers looked extremely solemn and exhorted. You are now on the 5th floor of the ancient Imperial Mausoleum. The fact that you can go down to this floor means that you have a bright future ahead of you. Don't lose your life because you're trying to be brave. The few of them nodded repeatedly, after which the Guardians turned around and left. In fact, their base camp was right next to them. It was a huge stone house that was filled with torches, illuminating the place like it was daytime. Unlike the base camp of the Guardians on the first few floors, there were exquisite portraits carved on the outside of the stone house, all of which were the souls of the ancient warriors. Some were standing, some were lying on their sides, and some were raising their palms to give orders. In short, they were the souls of the ancient warriors in various forms. If it was just a portrait, Jiang Xiao would still think that the engraver was impressive. However, the fact that they were all portraits of the souls of the ancient warriors made Jiang Xiao feel a little horrified. Is this guy a fanatic fan of the souls of the ancient warriors? Why would anyone like these white-haired old zombies? Even if you're carving the ancient archer generals or the ancient archers, it's still better than carving the old and ugly souls of the ancient warriors. Look at the nurses in Silent Hill. They don't even have a face, but they have a large group of fans. Aren't men all lecherous? I don't care if you have a face or not, or if you want to poke my butt with needles. As long as you're perky, I'll like you. Jiang Xiao wondered, the soul of the ancient warrior doesn't look good, and it's a man. How is he attractive? Since I want to pursue thrills, should I go all the way? Since I'm already a necrophiliac, I might as well add an old male corpse to my list. Xiong Chumo reluctantly released the yellow-green parrot again and said, Go, help mommy, help me find the location of the treasure chest. Everyone took a closer look, only to realize that the entrance to this floor was not in the vast open space, but in the stone corridor. There was only one path in front of them for the time being. After walking for less than a minute, everyone heard the sound of ding ding dang dang. Perhaps because they were closer to the base camp of the Guardians, they had yet to encounter the ancient warriors. In the dark corridor, everyone hurriedly got into combat mode when they heard the sounds. They carefully turned the corner, only to see the flickering flames in the distance. Is that a torch? Li Wei looked into the distance and saw a figure in a black cloak. He was standing on the ladder with a chisel in one hand and a small hammer in the other, concentrating on carving something on the wall. The group of people looked at each other and walked forward. To everyone's surprise, the closer they got to the cloaked man, the more bizarre and horrified they felt. The small stone hammer hit the chisel rhythmically, almost at the same speed as everyone's heartbeat. Afterwards, the cloaked man's movements became faster and faster. The chisel smashed against the stone wall, but it was as if it was chiseling into everyone's hearts. The crisp sounds caused everyone's heartbeat to accelerate, and everyone's breathing became chaotic. They were almost out of breath. Ding, ding, ding. Ding, ding, ding. Just as they passed by the cloaked man, there was a loud sound. Ding! The cloaked man's movements suddenly stopped, and he stepped on the ladder, still not saying a word. Everyone's breathing became chaotic, and they looked at the cloaked man warily. No one spoke. Under Han Jiangshua's gaze, everyone hastened their footsteps and left quickly. To Jiang Zhao's astonishment, the ugly potholes on the wall in front of the cloaked man were worlds apart from the exquisite stone carvings that they had seen previously. Everyone quickly left. After a while, the cloaked man slowly retreated from the ladder, turned around, and looked at the figure that had disappeared at the end of the corridor. Under the hood, only the lower half of the man's face could be seen, which was covered with fine stubble. He stood quietly in the middle of the corridor and stared at the end of the corridor quietly. Anyone would find the scene to be a little strange. After a long time, the cloaked man finally moved. His long cloak was suddenly blown up, and a gust of wind swept behind him. The ladder that was leaning against the wall was blown away by the strong wind, and the stone chips on the wall flew everywhere. When the dust had settled, the ugly and strange shape on the wall finally revealed its original exquisite appearance. To be exact, the potholes on the wall of the long stone corridor revealed exquisite patterns. It was not an independent stone carving of a person. The stone carvings on the long corridor could be described as a huge masterpiece. However, the scene seemed to be a little too bloody. It seemed to be about the encounter between the soul of the ancient warrior and a team of 4 humans. From the moment they met to the moment of life and death, the scene was extremely tragic. The first member of the human team was crushed into minced meat by the bone wall. The second member of the human team seemed to have been buried alive in the sea of corpses. The third member of the human team was imprisoned in the bone prison and cried loudly until he covered his face. The last member of the human team was pressed against the wall by the soul of the ancient warrior and was finally nailed to the wall by the soul of the ancient warrior. In the end, he was nailed to the wall by the soul of the ancient warrior with a stone chisel and a stone hammer? Soul of the ancient warrior? With a stone chisel and a stone hammer? Unfortunately, no one could appreciate such a scene because the gust of wind had also extinguished the torch. The wind behind the cloaked man roared again and cut the exquisite long stone carvings like countless knives. Finally, the bloody work of art was crushed into pieces. The cloaked man carried the small stone chisel and hammer and walked in the direction that the team had disappeared. Chapter 299. That person just now was so terrifying. Xiong Chumo subconsciously moved closer to Han Jiangxue, not caring if Goddess Xue would freeze her or not. She was really a little scared. Han Jiangxue hummed calmly and seemed to be in no mood to communicate with him. In fact, Han Jiangshue's heart was rather heavy. If she guessed correctly, the guy just now should be the so-called Star Warrior officer. Long before the competition began, the referee had already said that in order to ensure the safety of the participating students, there would be guards on every floor of the ancient imperial mausoleum. Not only that, but the organizers also borrowed a group of powerful star warriors from the country and the army. If they were the guards, they probably wouldn't act on their own, let alone play with the stone carvings. She speculated that the guy just now should be a Star Warrior officer who had the right to make decisions and act independently. But here was the problem. That strange fellow just now had been unfriendly to everyone from the beginning to the end. Yes, perhaps he didn't say anything, but his actions were thought-provoking. When everyone passed by him, their heartbeats were all affected by his hammering and chiseling. The ancient imperial mausoleum was dangerous in the first place, and it was rare for everyone to calm down. However, they were once again disturbed by the guy just now. Ring 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 all of a sudden, the melodious sound of bell rang. Han Jiangxue snapped back to her senses, only to see that Jiang Shao was directing the leaping medical light wave to shuttle back and forth on everyone. One shot of bell could only be used 6 times, which was clearly not enough for 8 people. Hence, the second shot of Bell came. Xiong Chumo was obviously the one who was taken care of the most as Bell jumped 3 times on her body. Xiong Chumo gradually calmed down and took a deep breath. She then looked at Jiang Shao, who was at the side, and blushed, feeling a little embarrassed. Just now, Jiang Shao grabbed her bird. Something seems wrong? He made the yellow-green parrot call him daddy. Now, he was taking care of her. As an 18-year-old girl, Xiong Chumo definitely had a lot of tricks up her sleeve. She had misunderstood Jiang Shao because Xiong Chumo was obviously the most timid among the 8 members. Hence, she was rather frightened. Hence, Jiang Shao used Bell to take care of Xiong Chumo. After all, Bell had a calming effect. That was what everyone was secretly puzzled about. Is this the medical star technique of Beijiang Province, Bell? The ringtone sounded like it, but why did it have a calming effect? Beijiang and Kainan Province were considered to be taking what they needed and cozying up to each other. Hence, the members of the Kainan Province Military School did not rashly ask. The pulsating white medical light lingered in the air for a long time. It was a beautiful scene. As the sound of the bell faded, everyone finally arrived at the first fork in the road. The terrain of the ancient imperial mausoleum was really strange. You could either be given 1 path or 10,000 paths. Was this an imperial mausoleum or a maze? Looking at the 5 entrances in front of him, Li Wei asked, "How do we get there?" "By yipping." This, everyone looked around and finally looked at Han Jiangxue. "Stick to the right. If anything happens, at least we can go back the way we came and find the headquarters of the Guardian Legion." Han Jiangxue gestured for everyone to turn right. "Let's go this way before the birds find the direction." Han Jiangxue's clear train of thought won everyone's approval. She walked towards the passage on the right, and after a while, they actually walked out of the maze and into the empty hall. The end of the dark hall could not be seen. Through Li Wei's war hammer and torch, the crowd walked forward and discovered many independent stone halls. No one knew what was behind the wall. No one knew. "Enemy attack!" Li Wei yelled all of a sudden while holding up the black shield in front of everyone. An ice arrow was shot over, but it was blocked by Li Wei. Seeing that the sneak attack had failed, the ancient archers on the other side also sounded the horn to attack. A series of fire arrows were shot over, allowing everyone to see the enemy's location clearly. Li Wei and Bai Yiping hurriedly stood in front of everyone. The series of explosive fire arrows were deafening, causing everyone to retreat continuously in a pathetic state. "What? How many ancient archers are there? Are they playing with explosive arrows here?" All of a sudden, the scene was rather tragic. Jiang Shao made a prompt decision and threw a shot of sound of silence at them. It wasn't that Jiang Zhao's reaction was slow, but rather that the enemy's home ground was more suitable for the dark environment. Hence, they discovered the target before Jiang Shao did. Jiang Shao reacted as soon as he found out the enemy's location. Regardless of what the leader of the ancient warriors was, it would never be wrong to strike first with sound of silence. Han Jiangxue didn't care about that. She had long recovered her star power and threw out a series of chain lightning. "Leader of the ancient warriors, 7 archers and 1 war hammer, huh? Someone's here?" Li Wei quickly reported, but he suddenly revealed a new piece of news. What does "someone's here" mean? In the huge, ancient imperial mausoleum, a figure dashed over from the darkness in the distance. Amidst the flames of the explosion, Li Wei held his shield and retreated while observing secretly. It's a middle-aged man dressed in a camouflage military uniform. He should be a guardian soldier or a star warrior officer. Maybe wait. Li Wei's expression changed and he said anxiously, "He's rushing towards our target." Hearing his words, Xia Yan panicked and frantically yelled, "We don't need help! We don't need help!" However, according to the rules of the competition, there was no need for the students to seek help. The Guardians and the Star Warrior officers could unilaterally rescue them. In other words, as a participating student, It was not up to them to decide whether they would be rescued or not. The man in the camouflage military uniform plunged into the team led by the ancient warrior general, and Xia Yan finally saw his appearance clearly. She couldn't help but swing her sword and disperse the flames of the explosion. The ancient archers shot out a series of explosive arrows, which indeed made them look like they had suffered severe injuries and were in a pathetic state. Xia Yan stomped her feet and yelled, "Can't you hear me? We don't need help. We're not in any danger. They've all been sound of silence and can't use any star technique. Didn't you notice?" In response, the unfamiliar man in the camouflage uniform used his actions to express that he didn't need help. Han Jiangshua's face grew sullen, and she felt that something was amiss. This guy actually forced us to help? What does he mean? Although we were ambushed and ended up in a pathetic state, Jiang Zhao's sound of silence has clearly been cast. We've already stabilized ourselves and don't need help at all. The audience in front of the television might not be able to see the situation clearly, but the soldier definitely knew it. Xia Yan's words were also very clear, but he still insisted on helping them. She was clearly deliberately increasing the number of times the two teams could request for help. There were only 3 times for help. If a team were to request for help for the 4th time, their results would be cancelled and they would be forcefully sent out of the arena. That was not all. If any team was helped by the Guardians and Star Warrior officers, all the rewards of the battle would be given to the officials. That was the rule given by the officials to prevent the participating students from taking advantage of loopholes in the rules to guide a large number of ancient warriors to fight with the rescuers, as well as to prevent the participating students from using the number of times to request for help in exchange for the star beads of the ancient warriors. The rules were good, but they had a different meaning now. The teams from Beijiang and Kainan province had clearly stabilized themselves, and after Han Jiangxue threw out a few chain bolts of lightning, they would be able to collect the spoils of war. However, because of the intrusion of an unfamiliar soldier, the two teams each had to bear a request for help, and even lost all the spoils of war. Jiang Shao also smelled a hint of a conspiracy. Did the cooked duck fly away just like that? Jiang Shao wished he could give the other party a blessing. However, it was a global live broadcast, after all. Jiang Shao knew that he had to consider the consequences of plotting against them. The only thing he could do was no longer sound of silence, but he couldn't take the initiative to attack. 10 seconds of sound of silence passed in a flash. However, the unfamiliar soldier's strength was not to be underestimated. In just a few seconds, he had already destroyed the leader of the ancient warriors and eliminated most of the threat. The remaining ancient archers actually fled in all directions. Han Jiangxue stared at him coldly and said, "Everyone is watching what you're doing. We've repeatedly emphasized that we don't need help, but you forced us to ask for help and took away our spoils of war." The unfamiliar soldier turned around abruptly and said with a sharp gaze, "You have no right to question my judgment. Watch your words. I saved your lives, so you have to distinguish between right and wrong." Chapter 300. Xia Yan stepped forward and was about to argue with him, but she was pulled back by Jiang Shao. In terms of physical fitness alone, Xia Yan's power was completely superior to Jiang Zhao's. Hence, Jiang Shao was dragged out by her. Seeing that something was amiss, Li Wei hurriedly stepped forward to help and dragged Xia Yan back forcefully. Xia Yan was infuriated and yelled, but Jiang Shao covered her mouth with his hand. "Don't get into a conflict with the rescuers. Calm down," Jiang Shao said anxiously. Xia Yan snapped back to her senses and finally stopped struggling. Jiang Zhao's words reminded everyone of something. The unfamiliar soldier said in a deep voice, "I'll ask you again. Do you have any objections?" "Everyone, don't talk to him." Jiang Shao adjusted his headband and shone it on the unfamiliar soldier. At the same time, he pressed the invisible earphones and said, "Referee, can we apply for an inspection of this situation?" The invisible earphones were connected to the 4 members of the team. Of course, they could also be connected to the referee. Only a deep male voice could be heard. "What are you checking?" Jiang Shao said. "There's no reason for us to be rescued this time. It's completely unnecessary." The referee's words were exactly the same as the unfamiliar soldiers. "You have no right to question the judgment of the rescuers," Jiang Shao said. "We don't have the right, but the organizers of the competition do. Humans make mistakes, and so do rescuers. Everyone has the video and everyone in the world is watching. I've already silenced the ancient warriors and Han Jiangxue has already begun to release chain lightning. The enemy can't fight back at all. Not all the contestants have to flee when they encounter the ancient warriors. Our battle results for the past day are available for inspection. I hope you can verify this situation." Jiang Shao continued. "We can give up the spoils of war this time, but we shouldn't be blamed for being rescued this time." Hearing this, the unfamiliar soldier's face turned sullen and a menacing glint flashed in his eyes. After a while, the referee's response came through the invisible earphones. "The review will be conducted after the competition. No matter which party has any violations, we will punish them severely. Jiangbin High School, continue with the competition." Jiang Shao and the others looked at each other with sullen expressions. It's the National High School League that the entire world is watching. How could such a thing happen? Are they really that daring? "I hope he's really wrong," Xiong Chumo said in a low voice. Everyone turned to look at her. Xiong Chumo blushed and said, "I really hope he made a wrong judgment." Otherwise, everyone's heart trembled. This was indeed the case. If this strange soldier was really retarded, it would be a blessing in disguise. If he did it on purpose, then this competition would be difficult to handle. However, Jiang Shao knew that it was just an unrealistic fantasy. The soldiers had already rushed into his domain of silence, and it was impossible for them not to sense that the ancient warriors were being restrained. Han Jiangxue had already thrown out a chain lightning, and the outcome was already set. It was impossible for the soldiers to make any mistakes in their judgment. Or could it be that the soldier couldn't stop because of inertia? Or do you covet a few star beads? To be honest, Jiang Shao hoped that he didn't want to stop halfway because he felt embarrassed. He didn't want others to think that he had made a mistake in judgment. Hence, he bit the bullet and finished everything. Regardless of the situation, Jiang Shao had no reason to respect such a person. Jiang Shao waved his hand at the strange soldier with a smile on his face. "Friend, the Star Warrior officers have their own jurisdiction. Where's yours?" The strange soldier was dumbfounded. Jiang Shao smiled and said, "I thought I should stay away from you. These classmates of mine have been working hard for several years and have been training day and night. They just want to stand out and shine in the National League. I don't want you to save us again and save us from the competition." With a sullen expression, the strange soldier said through gritted teeth, "Shut up." The bullet screen in Su Ro's livestream was filled with comment. Clearly, this matter had also attracted a lot of attention and discussion. "Hey damn it, this toxic healer is really sarcastic. The toxic healer is telling the truth. We've worked so hard to break through from Beijiang and finally made it to the National League. We did well in the preliminary round, but we ended up having to pay the price because of someone else's mistake? What's the reason? Is it rigged? I'm not sure. The camera is full of flames and it's too chaotic. I feel that the two teams are really in a critical situation just now. This is the National League and the whole world is watching. It's impossible for there to be any rigging. Let's wait and see the referee's report." Su Ro had a sullen expression too. From the perspective of the team just now, it was indeed chaotic, and made people think that the two teams were in trouble. However, Su Ro believed that there must be something going on. Jiang Shao was mischievous to begin with, so Su Ro wouldn't take it seriously no matter what he said. However, Han Jiangxue's words were clear. There must be something fishy about the matter since she was so infuriated. Li Wei, where did he come from? Jiang Shao asked while looking at the sullen soldier. Li Wei raised his hand and gestured in a direction. Jiang Shao pointed in another direction and said, "Let's go there." The two teams surprisingly had a tacit understanding and walked in the opposite direction. When they entered another stone corridor, Han Jiangxue said calmly, "From now on, until the end of the competition, no one is allowed to talk about what happened just now." Ever since the team from Tianjin left, Han Jiangxue had become the well-deserved leader. During the battles, Xiong Chumo, the commander of Kainan province, had also subtly expressed his attachment and allegiance to Han Jiangxue. Hence, Han Jiangxue's words held the most weight at the moment. Everyone was indignant, but they had no choice but to obey Han Jiangxue's orders. They were not fools. After all, they were still in the competition, and they were still under the control of others. A certain degree of feedback, resistance, and complaint might bring about positive effect. However, if they kept complaining about the unfairness and kept talking about it in front of the camera, they might end up offending the competition authorities and referees. To Han Jiangxue, Jiang Zhao's performance just now was just right. Be it his complaint that was neither servile nor overbearing, or his mocking of the unfamiliar soldier just now, they were all within a certain range, and did not really touch the bottom line of the competition authorities. It couldn't be better to stop here and end things here. The current situation had definitely attracted the attention of the competition authorities, and the two teams from Kainan province and Beijiang province were probably being watched by everyone. Even if some people wanted to play dirty, they would have to think twice. That was considered to be the benefit that they had gained at the moment. There was a saying in China that went, "Good fortune and misfortune go hand in hand." If they really found out that there was something wrong with some of the soldiers, would the competition authorities compensate the teams from Beijiang province and Kainan province to a certain extent? Just when the atmosphere was heavy, a special voice rang out, "Dad." Jiang Shao blinked and watched as the yellow-green parrot flew over. He couldn't help but ask, "Brother, you're here?" Xiong Chumo seemed to be deliberately trying to lighten the atmosphere. She said, "What nonsense are you two addressing each other?" Jiang Shao grabbed the bird and said, "It's okay, I call it brother, and it calls me daddy. We're on our own." Jiang Shao threw the bird onto his head, and turned to look at Xiong Chumo. "It calls you mommy and I call you sis. There's nothing wrong with that." Xiong Chumo was speechless. The yellow-green parrot tilted its head, looked at Xiong Chumo, and exclaimed, "Sis, sis." Xiong Chumo's face turned livid. It wasn't easy for him to learn, but he ended up learning bad things. "Who are you calling sis?" "I'm your mom. Don't I want to be prideful?" The yellow-green parrot stood on Jiang Zhao's head with one leg raised and the other gestured in a direction. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Everyone froze and looked around, wondering why they heard the sound of a treasure chest being opened. Everyone suddenly snapped back to their senses and looked at the yellow-green parrot, wondering how it could make such a sound. It mimicked it so vividly that everyone almost thought that someone was opening a treasure chest. The yellow-green parrot hopped around and kept raising one leg to gesture in a direction while mimicking the sound of friction. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Did it make the sound of treasure chests when the people on the first few floors opened them? What kind of bird is this? Kid. You're very intelligent, huh? Han Jiangxue nodded thoughtfully and said, "Let's go this way." Everyone identified the direction and moved forward quickly. At the same time, a mysterious man in a cloak walked out from the entrance of the hall on the 5th floor. "This is my jurisdiction." The voice of the soldier in camouflage could be heard from afar. "Please leave." The cloaked man lowered his head and stood there quietly without saying a word. The soldier in camouflage walked forward with a menacing expression and said, "This is my jurisdiction." All of a sudden, the cloaked man revealed a stone hammer and a stone chisel in his wide sleeves and walked towards the soldier in camouflage. The soldier's expression changed and he hurriedly retreated, but the cloaked man suddenly sped up. Chapter 301. In the fifth underground floor of the ancient Imperial Mausoleum, Li Wei tiptoed forward and suddenly raised his right fist, after which the 7 team members behind him hurriedly stopped. Li Wei leaned against the corner of the wall and peeked his head out to look into the distance. On the other side of the corner was a slightly familiar area. Similar to the layout of the rooms on the previous floors, it was also surrounded by 3 walls, and there were also exquisite carvings on the walls. Li Wei looked inside, and his heart sank. He had long smelled the stench of blood, but he didn't expect it to be so bloody. There were corpses everywhere, and blood flowed like a river. What's the configuration of this team that's enjoying the fruits of victory? Why is it the soul of the ancient warrior plus ancient archer general again? Are we going to shoot arrows from the hole in the bone wall again? Li Wei's body was pressed against the corner of the wall, but he could no longer take another step forward because the ancient warriors were not lax. There were at least 6 ancient archers standing guard. The ancient warriors were eating heartily inside. Yes, they were eating with all kinds of broken limbs and minced meat in their hand. The stench of blood filled the air, and corpses were everywhere. They might be another team of ancient warriors that had just been killed. Li Wei heard the sound of them chewing flesh, making him feel disgusted. It wasn't that Li Wei had never killed before. On the contrary, he was also an executioner. However, facing the scene in front of him, even Li Wei felt his stomach churn and he felt nauseous. It was enough to imagine the hellish scene inside. Soul of the ancient warrior plus ancient archer general. Li Wei turned around with a solemn expression. Each of you will bring more than 10 soldiers, a total of 23 people. Hearing such a configuration, everyone's faces grew sullen. It seemed that they had to be the first to strike. Previously, the soul of the ancient warrior played a huge role because they didn't use sound of silence. They had fought against such a team before, so Han Jiangxue didn't want to give up on this special weapon. Let's study the battle tactics properly. Huh! All of a sudden, the ancient archer general, whose mouth was full of flesh and blood, turned around abruptly while his blood-stained ponytail swayed. His turbid eyes were filled with murderous intent as he stared at the end of the corridor. In the seemingly empty area, the ancient archer general seemed to have been guided by something. The ancient archer general stood up and threw away its bleeding arm. With a wave of its hand, a pitch-black bow and arrow appeared out of thin air. The ancient archer general drew his bow and nocked an arrow. The blood and minced flesh at the corner of his mouth covered his valiant appearance. His long and pale fingers loosened slightly. Whoosh! No, it wasn't probing, it was attacking. The ancient archer general drew his bow and nocked an arrow. The sacrificial arrows shot out at a terrifying speed. Just as the ancient archer shot the first arrow, the soul of the ancient warrior roared furiously, shocking the group of followers who were frantically eating. He had to admit that the ancient warriors were indeed highly trained. At least when there was a leader around, they would obey orders unconditionally and react extremely quickly. Li Wei, who was still speaking, was slightly stunned because he heard an ominous voice. At the next moment, the pitch-black sacrificial arrow exploded at the corner, and everyone panicked, feeling as if their hearts were in their throat. It was an extremely uncomfortable feeling. What's going on? Xiong Chumo was so frightened that her body trembled slightly. She had suffered a huge blow to her heart. Jiang Shao closed his eyes and forced himself to calm down. He then hurriedly threw bell out. Ring ring ring. The melodious chime of the bell saved the panicking students, but the sacrificial arrows continued to fall one after another. Impossible! How did it find out? Li Wei exclaimed in shock. That's a good question. However, Jiang Shao didn't want to pursue the matter any further. He yelled, "Shield, shield!" Li Wei hurriedly picked up his black shield and dashed out of the corner. Jiang Shao was also risking his life. He followed behind Li Wei and carefully searched for the soul of the ancient warrior. Although the archers were very powerful, the soul of the ancient warrior had to be silenced first. Otherwise, the consequences would be dire. Han Jiangxue also pushed by yipping out immediately. The shield warrior from Kainan province tried his best to hold up the rose shield with both hands to block the arrows. Wait a minute. Neither Jiang Shao nor Han Jiangxue's chain of lightning was thrown out. Why? They thought they saw a figure emerge from the back of the ancient warriors. Jiang Shao froze and suddenly realized that they were rescued for the second time? Is this the second time my team has been rescued? Is the fifth underground floor poisonous? Or is this a coincidence? Did the other party really appear in time? Han Jiangxue's face was cold and she yelled, "Let's go!" She really wanted to throw the chain of lightning out and treat the other party as a monster to kill them all. However, she couldn't. Everyone was looking at her. They were all looking at this team. Her actions did not only represent herself, but could also implicate her comrade. Han Jiangxue then took the lead and ran towards the back. Since the commander had set an example, everyone had no choice but to follow suit despite having other thoughts. The group of 8 sprinted in the long corridor, followed by a group of ancient warriors who were hot on their heels. Such a situation made everyone uncertain whether the people at the back were rescuing them or driving the ancient warriors to rush over faster. What should we do? Turn around and fight? Do we work for the so-called rescuer? While thinking about it, Han Jiangxue cooperated with Qi Yan and continuously threw out a gust of wind. In the blink of an eye, everyone had already run out of the stone corridor. They had returned to the area under the jurisdiction of the camouflaged soldiers again. Jiang Shao was a little flustered because he was afraid that the camouflaged soldiers would forcefully rescue them. Just as Jiang Shao was running and worrying, he seemed to have heard a subtle knocking sound. Why does this sound so familiar? Where have I heard it before? Behind the stone wall, in a place where no one could see, the cloaked man was holding a stone chisel in one hand and pressing it against the head of a corpse. He was holding a hammer in the other hand and smashing it down repeatedly. The person who was nailed to the wall and covered in blood turned out to be the camouflaged soldier just now? At this moment, he was nailed to the wall by the stone chisel and his body was trembling. However, he couldn't speak at all, which was enough to show how much pain he was suffering. The scene was exactly the same as the fourth scene that the cloaked man had drawn on the stone wall. At the very last moment, I hoped that my prediction was wrong, the cloaked man said while looking at the struggling soldier in front of him. You guys shouldn't have come to ruin my competition. You'll speak one day. The cloaked man seemed to have sensed something. He stopped moving and turned around to walk out. While walking, the stone hammer in his right hand was still gently hitting the blood-stained stone chisel in his left hand. What did he mean by "you guys shouldn't have come to ruin my competition"? Regardless of how strong the cloaked man was, he was really arrogant to be able to make the National High School League belong to me. Ding, 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 ding. The sound of the stone hammer hitting the chisel was extremely rapid, just like everyone's beating hearts at this moment. All of a sudden, Han Jiangxue stopped, and due to inertia, her body even slid forward by half a meter. Everyone stopped one after another with a look of shock on their faces because they had all seen the cloaked man who had suddenly appeared. Compared to when they saw him previously, the stone chisel of the cloaked man was already stained with blood at this moment. The scene was extremely horrifying. Isn't this the mysterious stone carving man that we encountered in the stone corridor previously? Why is he here? Why is he covered in blood? Everyone was terrified, but the ancient warriors behind them were not held back by the rescuer for too long. The ancient warriors were still chasing after them. Go! Go! Go back the way we came! Jiang Shao yelled. Jiang Shao did not cast sound of silence at all, but he had been tensed up and staring at the mysterious cloaked man in front of him. Jiang Shao knew that casting Sound of Silence meant that he had announced his withdrawal from the competition. As long as he dared to take the initiative to attack the Star Warrior military officers, it would definitely be a violation of the rules. Not to mention being withdrawn, he might not even be able to participate in the college entrance examination this year. Besides, Jiangbin High School would not be able to participate in provincial and national competitions for the next few years. Hence, Jiang Shao had been casting Sound of Silence and telling everyone to run. The cloaked man walked towards Jiang Shao step by step. Jiang Zhao's Adam's apple moved and he thought, if you come any closer, I'll really attack you. Wait, the direction is wrong? Jiang Shao suddenly discovered that the cloaked man was moving towards the entrance of the stone corridor that they had just escaped from. There's two left. The cloaked man blocked the entrance of the stone corridor and stretched out a hand. The next moment, all the ancient warriors in the corridor, regardless of the distance, had their bones growing crazily. The rescuer who was entangled with the ancient warriors in the stone corridor suddenly had a change of expression. He realized that the situation was not good, but his figure was quickly drowned by the sea of bones. Jiang Shao retreated step by step, but the cloaked man suddenly turned around and looked at Jiang Shao. Due to the angle, Jiang Shao did not know what was happening in the corridor. He ignored it and turned around to run. The cloaked man's expression was slightly complicated, and he seemed to be feeling a little guilty. He looked at the rapidly disappearing figures of the students, and slowly turned his head around. Pitter-patter. A drop of blood dripped down from his blood-stained beard. Next, another stone carving on the wall of the stone corridor began to play. Chapter 302. The teams from Beijiang and Kainan Province went crazy. They rushed all the way back to the fourth floor and then rushed back to the third floor without stopping. They stopped looking for any weapons and began to kill. There was less and less communication between the two teams because they were getting more and more tacit with each other. They simply killed, rested, killed, and rested, and so on. The audience would occasionally see the indignant expressions of the students from the images that the team members took of each other. They were indignant, unwilling, and indignant. The students seemed to have suffered some grievances. The audience did not know the entire process, but they roughly knew that the students should have had a difference of opinion with the rescue team. The disagreement almost broke out into a conflict, but fortunately, the students tolerated it. However, after that incident, there was no more conflict between the rescue team and the two teams of students. In the past day, the teams from Beijiang and Kainan Province had seen the Star Warrior officers on the third floor of the basement. They had also seen the Guardians many times, but no one came to find trouble with them. The Kainan River Alliance could be considered to have shone brilliantly on the last day. The two teams were almost done getting used to each other, and the more they fought, the more experienced they became. No one would have imagined that the two teams would have such chemistry. They became extremely aggressive, and on the last day, the two teams killed a total of 13 ancient warrior teams. It could be said to be a rather fruitful battle. 15 ancient warrior teams were not a small number. In the ancient imperial mausoleum where they could die at any time, the two teams had already done very well. Jiang Shao also received a message from the internal star map: 10 gold kills, 1 skill point. Current skill points: 53. It was also on the last day that there was a shortage of supplies due to the frequent battles. It didn't matter, the healer was still around. If the fragrance of Chumo's flowers was not strong enough to support the recovery of everyone's star power, Jiang Zhao's nostalgia would be able to meet all the needs of all the members. I can give you what you want. If you don't want it, I'll give it to you. The appearance of nostalgia, the secret weapon, really shocked the team from Kainan Province. Coupled with the absorption of the reserved star beads, Jiang Shao completed the logistics task perfectly. The remaining 4 fallen shadow witch star beads had also been absorbed, and his counter-current light and enmity had both reached gold quality level 6. His bug-like star technique, Sound of Silence, had also reached gold quality level 8, 9 out of 100. Han Jiangxue packed up the ancient warrior's star beads, fastened the military backpack, and threw them into her sky smasher. In the invisible earphones, the referee repeated, "The 72 hours are up. Participants, please wait where you are. The Guardians will escort you back to Earth. The star beads obtained from killing the ancient warriors on the way back will not be included in the total score." The continuous voices made Han Jiangxue a little annoyed. She removed the invisible earphones, only to see Xiong Chumo walking towards her. No matter how beautiful a girl was, after fighting and killing here for 72 hours, she couldn't be considered beautiful anymore. Xiong Chumo's face was full of fatigue and she seemed to be trying her best to stay awake. She nodded at Han Jiangxue gratefully and said, "Thank you." Expressionless, Han Jiangxue answered calmly, "It's a pleasure working with you." Xiong Chumo blushed and whispered, "If it weren't for you, I'm afraid we wouldn't have been able to kill a single ancient warrior legion." Han Jiangxue shook her head slightly and said, "Don't belittle yourself. We're all aware of each other's abilities. Without your help, our team would have been wiped out many times over." The 72 hours were finally up, and there was no need to race against time. Jiang Zhao's tensed nerves relaxed, and he tried his best to hold back his sleepiness. He yawned and said, "After we get out, have a good sleep. Let's go for skewers together." Xiong Chumo's eyes widened and she stared at Jiang Zhao dumbfoundedly. "What's wrong? Are you a vegetarian?" Jiang Zhao was a little confused to see Xiong Chumo's reaction. Xiong Chumo said in a low voice, "You are so carefree. You can even think about sleeping and eating meat. Aren't you worried about our points?" Jiang Zhao scratched his head. Within 3 days, everyone had gone from meeting, getting to know each other, to forming an alliance, separating, and finally settling into a two-team team until now. They had experienced too many things. To Jiang Zhao, taking a shower, sleeping, and having a big meal were the most important things to do. As for points, he would do his best and leave it to fate. However, one thing was certain. If Jiang Zhao's team couldn't make it to the semifinals, Xiong Chumo's team wouldn't be able to either, because Xiong Chumo's team had much lower points than Jiang Zhao's team. Firstly, Xiong Chumo's team didn't have any special weapons. Secondly, Xiong Chumo insisted on giving the gold-quality Archer General Star Bead that she left behind when she left Tianjin to the team from Beijiang. It wasn't that Xiong Chumo was a godsend or that she was kind. She simply recognized the situation and understood the position of her team. Her team was just following the elite team to get points. Even without the highly functional star techniques in her team, the team from Beijiang would still be able to kill the ancient warriors. It was just that it would be more dangerous and difficult. However, if Xiong Chumo's team didn't have the help of the team from Beijiang, the problem would be serious. Despite the relatively unequal status, the two teams were still able to coexist harmoniously, mainly because of Han Jiangxue's philosophy. Goddess Xue's thoughts were simple. The Kaijiang alliance was efficient, safe, and easy to handle. It didn't matter who paid more or who was more important. In short, the two teams' alliance had such an effect, so they should maintain it. Jiang Zhao thought about the points and suddenly thought of something. He frantically said, "Hey, by the way, can you do me a favor?" Xiong Chumo immediately patted her chest and said, "Of course." Jiang Zhao requested, "Can we exchange star beads?" "I'll exchange the ancient warrior general star bead for the ancient archer general star bead. The points will be the same." Without hesitation, Xiong Chumo nodded and said, "Of course. Why? Do you still want to learn archery?" Upon hearing this, Han Jiangxue looked over too. Jiang Zhao picked up the military backpack and found 14 gold-quality star beads in the interlayer. After carefully sifting through them, he picked out 5 ancient warrior general star bead. Of course, 3 of the soul of the ancient warrior star beads couldn't be exchanged. After all, the star beads were worth 80 points. Jiang Shao didn't respond, and Xiong Chumo didn't ask any further. Under the recording, the two parties completed an open and transparent exchange of equivalent value. Xiong Chumo was amazed by Jiang Zhao's appraisal technique, but she also found the subtle differences between the ancient archer general star beads and the ancient warrior general star beads through comparison. Jiang Shao had to admit that girls were very meticulous. He had always been putting on an act and holding it in his hand to read the information given by the internal star map. The Guardians soon rushed to the third underground floor and escorted the two teams out. Jiang Shao always had an inherent impression of soldiers, and that was that they were stern. However, the soldiers who came to pick Jiang Shao up this time were especially friendly, which made Jiang Shao feel a little strange. At 10:17 a.m. on May 8, 2016, Jiang Shao returned to Earth, but he had no choice but to close his eyes. Who's the one pretending to be pretentious and blinding me? The contestants who came out of the ancient imperial mausoleum mostly covered their faces with their hands. After all, they still appeared in the military tent in the military camp, and they didn't look up to see the sun. However, even so, the sudden brightness still made the students miserable. "I'm so proud of you guys." Hai Tianqing walked forward with a look of admiration and reached out to hug Li Wei. However, as soon as Hai Tianqing approached the crowd, he put down his arms and gave up on the idea. Why? Because it stinks. Fortunately, the students were all adapting to the bright world and did not see the awkward scene. Hai Tianqing's expression stiffened, and he was caught in a dilemma. Fortunately, the soldiers came to help and led the students to calculate the points of the competition. Using the star beads to calculate the points could only be considered a way of verification. In fact, the moment the group of students walked out of the ancient imperial mausoleum for 72 hours, the number of points they had obtained was clearly recorded in the video. What Jiang Shao was worried about did not happen. The competition authorities only used the star beads to check the points and did not confiscate the star beads, which made Jiang Shao feel relieved. Logically speaking, even if the competition authorities said that the star beads could be used to exchange points, Jiang Shao and the others had to do so for the sake of their results. Everyone dragged their exhausted bodies and repeatedly confirmed their result. Under Hai Tianqing's considerate care, they drove back to the hotel where they were staying. Yes, they did not take the bus with the rest of the team. In fact, the teachers of many teams had rented vehicles for the sake of making it more comfortable for the students so that they could return to the hotel earlier to rest. However, for Hai Tianqing, he had a special mission for renting the vehicle. That was in the jeep. Hai Tianqing's praises almost made everyone fall asleep. Even Xia Yan, who liked praising, was getting impatient. She wanted to sleep, but Hai Tianqing kept buzzing in her ears like a fly. Even Hai Tianqing's gentle and warm voice was being treated as a fly. Xia Yan could imagine how exhausted she was. However, Hai Tianqing suddenly changed the topic and said something that made everyone sober up a lot. Hai Tianqing said, "There are no dirty tricks in the competition." Jiang Shao opened his eyes and looked at Hai Tianqing, who was in the driver's seat. Huh! Hai Tianqing looked at Jiang Shao in the rearview mirror and continued, "There can't be any dirty tricks in the competition either." Han Jiangxue raised her eyebrows slightly, seemingly having sensed that something was amiss. Hai Tianqing said, "As soon as the situation appeared, I filed a complaint outside the venue. This morning, the results of the investigation were out too." Xia Yan became much more clear-headed. "What's the result?" Hai Tianqing repeated, "There are no dirty tricks in the competition, and there can't be any dirty tricks either. There might just be some minor situations." Xia Yan asked, "Minor situations?" Hai Tianqing smiled and said, "The competition authorities will give us some special treatment for such minor situations, so we have to watch our mouths. We'll say what we should and not say what we shouldn't." Jiang Shao blinked. Life is getting more and more interesting. Chapter 303. In a standard room in the hotel designated by the competition authorities in Chang'an City. Buzz, 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 brotherly. Is being in a relationship really more important than sleeping? Jiang Xiao asked while hugging the white duvet and sleeping soundly in his underpants. Ever since he checked into the hotel and took a shower, he had been lying on the bed and hadn't gotten up since. After a day and a night, Jiang Xiao, who was in a deep sleep, was woken up by the vibration of his mobile phone, which led to the scene just now. Li Wei had just woken up too. With an interesting expression on his face, he said, "It's not your sister Qing Mei." Of course, there are messages from your sister Qing Mei too." Buzz, 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 buzz. The series of sounds made Jiang Xiao flustered. He finally opened his eyes and looked at Li Wei, who was lying on the other bed. "Why are you talking so incoherently?" Li Wei turned to look at Jiang Xiao and said, "Turn on your phone. You might have more messages than me." Jiang Xiao was slightly stunned, but his eyes soon lit up and an unrealistic fantasy arose in his mind. Jiang Xiao's Adam's apple squirmed and he said in a daze, "Could it be that I've entered the semifinals? Are the results out?" Li Wei turned the vibration mode to silent mode and rubbed his naturally curly head before lying on the bed and closing his eyes. "Seems like I'm going to continue sleeping?" Jiang Xiao was dumbfounded. "Brotherly, you look as handsome as a prince when you're sleeping, but you look so cheap when you're keeping me in suspense." Jiang Xiao jumped out of bed in his underpants. After searching for a long time, he finally found his mobile phone. He turned it on and waited. Half a minute later, he was bombarded with messages. Jiang Xiao walked towards Li Wei with his mobile phone, turned up the volume, and placed it beside Li Wei's pillow. Li Wei was speechless. I knew it. It was not the princess's kiss that woke the prince up, but the scam messages from all over the world. If necessary, the bank's reminders for loan repayment and the utilities' reminders would have the same effect. Among the constantly overlapping text messages and WeChat messages, Jiang Xiao seemed to have seen a WeChat message from his second brother, Zhu Wu. "Jiang Xiaopi, I love you." Am I seeing things? Sensing Li Wei's resentful gaze, Jiang Xiao picked up his mobile phone and switched on silent mode. He couldn't read the messages even if he wanted to, so he had no choice but to toss them aside. Jiang Xiao thought about it and looked up at the clock hanging on the wall, only to realize that it was 9 a.m. It should be 9 a.m., right? Jiang Xiao opened the curtains and looked outside. Yes, it was 9 a.m. in the morning. I slept for almost a day? Tsk tisk. Jiang Xiao drew the curtains again, turned on the television, and lowered the volume. He then climbed back into bed and continuously changed the channel. Dimensional spaces frequently appearing in the northwestern White Mountain Range? War broke out in the northwest, and a large number of troops were sent to support them? Snow Clean Hu Tian Mu Horse Return. The Victor's Army. Victory. The preliminary round of the National High School League ended successfully yesterday. Jiang Xiao, who was wrapped in a blanket, paused for a moment. On the news channel, a male host was broadcasting the news, and there was a picture of the ancient imperial mausoleum next to his head. There was even an ancient warrior army on it. Upon sight of the voluptuous female zombie, Jiang Xiao also thought of the ancient archer General Star Bead that he had exchanged with the team from Kainan Province yesterday. Before the end of the competition yesterday, Jiang Xiao asked Xiong Chumo for help, hoping to exchange the ancient warrior Star Bead for the ancient archer General Star Bead. Xiong Chumo agreed to Jiang Xiao's request in a friendly manner. After exchanging the ancient archer General Star Bead, Jiang Xiao now had 11 ancient archer General Star Beads. If he really wanted to learn archery, he would have some room to maneuver. No, it seems to be a little lacking. First of all, he had to absorb one and embed the star technique in his star map. The ancient archer General Star Bead was of gold quality, but the star technique contained in it was of silver quality. Hence, he would be able to upgrade all 4 star techniques to gold quality with 1 more star bead. The remaining 9 star beads would then be able to upgrade the 4 archery star techniques to gold quality 9, which was 1 point away from platinum quality. However, the premise of all of this was that Jiang Shao had to monopolize the 11 ancient archer general star beads. Li Wei didn't have to take an exam at all, and he even accompanied everyone into the ancient imperial mausoleum to risk their lives. How could he not get a share of the rewards? The ancient archer general star bead was considered to have 4 star techniques with 4 attributes: ice, fire, poison, and psychic attack. It sounded rather good and tempting. If I don't have enough star slots, I'll use basic techniques to make up for it? Jiang Shao felt that he could easily activate archery proficiency. For someone like him who had an internal star map, talent was not particularly important when it came to learning any human skills. Of course, it would be best if he had talent. Jiang Shao could train and improve on his own. If he really didn't have talent, he would use skill points. The gold quality, archery proficiency alone would be enough for Jiang Shao to shoot with great accuracy, wouldn't it? However, since he had to output, would the arrows of the 4 attributes be able to change the outcome of the battle or even change fate? Jiang Shao was in a dilemma. No matter what, he still couldn't bear to part with his star slots. I don't care anymore. Since I've already exchanged them, I'll just keep them for now. There were only 3-dimensional spaces like the ancient imperial mausoleum in the world, and all of them were located in Chang'an City. They were usually not open to the public at all. Hence, it would be great if he could get one. As for the soul of the ancient warrior star bead, Jiang Shao wasn't too interested in it. After all, this star technique had high requirements for the surrounding environment and was highly restrictive. The bones could only grow on the bodies of the ancient warriors, and the bone shields, bone walls, and bone prisons could only be used on the ground. Hundreds of participating teams have showcased their respective abilities and presented us with a sumptuous feast. Please take a look at the point. The male host's voice pulled Jiang Shao back to reality. Jiang Zhao's eyes widened as an image appeared on the television. Jiang Zhao's face turned sullen. Top 3? There are only 8 teams in total that entered the semifinals. How can one image be shown? Yet, you still have to split it into several images to broadcast the news? You can turn up the volume, Li Wei said all of a sudden. Jiang Shao turned around and asked, "Don't you know the results?" Li Wei said, "I'll watch it with you again." Jiang Shao was speechless. Li Wei exclaimed, "In the end, the champion is still Great Bay High School of Nanyue Province. No wonder they're the best team leader. 2,320 points?" Jiang Shao looked at the data below the team's points and thought to himself, these guys actually found 5 special weapons? Those 5 weapons are worth 1,000 points. In other words, they shouldn't have killed as many ancient warriors as Jiang Zhao's team did. He reckoned that it should be due to their style. Second place, Beijing number 32 High School. The team led by the best rules awakened in Beijing, Ying Shi, had a total of 2,280 points. Special weapon. For there were a total of 18 levels and 18 special weapons, half of which were taken up by the top 2 teams. Jiang Shao also realized a very serious problem. No matter what, the 5 weapons and 4 weapons meant that the teams had gone down to the 5th underground floor and passed the hurdle of the 5th floor. So, how did these teams survive unscathed? Don't tell me that we paved a path for them? Did we blow up the matter and the mastermind doesn't dare to attack anymore? Or maybe the mastermind has been dealt with, so the other teams can go down unhindered? In that case, I have to have a share in your weapon point. Third place, Haisu University Affiliated High School. Star student, Wenremu's team, 2,150 points. Special weapon. Jiang Shao was dumbfounded when he saw the composition of the point. He probably couldn't say anything about it. The team only obtained one special weapon. In other words, the remaining 1,950 points were obtained through killing. Are these guys from Haisu province that irritable? How explosive must their output be? Jiang Shao came to a sudden realization and finally remembered that he had encountered Wenrimu on the third floor. It was the bespectacled guy with a crew cut who unhurriedly put the steel gun into his storage space. So, that's the only special weapon they seized? Jiang Shao turned around and looked at Li Wei. No one would want to encounter the third place of this cohort, right? In any case, Jiang Shao would rather fight the little Flower than the group of lightning Dharmarajas. As the picture on the television screen changed, Jiang Shao saw the familiar team name. Fourth place, Tianjin Nankai High School. His total points were 2,080, and he had obtained 2 special weapons. However, among the points at the back, 400 were gray. They were not classified as Ancient Warrior Archer General, Warrior General, or Battle Soul Star Beads, nor were they classified as Ancient Warrior Star Beads. What does that mean? Gray? Why isn't the source indicated? Fifth place, Beijing Shield Light High School total points, 2,070 special weapon. Nunjiang Shao saw a gray score of 760 in the score structure. Jiang Shao came to a sudden realization. Fighting was not prohibited in the competition, and star beads and weapons could all be snatched. Sixth place, East Zhujiang Tushan High School total points, 1,980 special weapon. None gray score. Jiang Shao no longer looked at the gray score, because the students were ranked 6th. According to the rules of the semifinals, they would be facing a group of Thunder Kings led by Wenrimu. Wait, from Zhujiang province? Wow. Jiang Shao suddenly realized that he was likely to see 2 groups of Thunder Kings fighting each other passionately. Oh my god. Just the thought of it makes me excited. The picture of the news changed again. 7th and 8th place. Damn it! Jiang Shao sat up abruptly on the bed. The 7th place was no longer in his sights. It was because Jiang Shao saw the 8th place. Beijiang Jiangbin High School, Beijiang Province, Jiangbin High School. Total points, 1,830 special weapon, 1/8th place? They've entered the semi-finals? I'm going to explode. It was a province that was nicknamed as participating in the competition only for public expenses. It was a province that took 35 years to tour. Today, it was finally proven by the 4 kids. We didn't participate in the competition for public expenses. We just wanted to eat mutton soup. Ahem. Jiang Shao knew why he was being bombarded with messages. He turned around and looked at the bedside table. His mobile phone was in silent mode, but it was still constantly lighting up. It seemed that many people were sending him messages and calling him. From now on, I can also be called a pioneer. Don't let me go to the 5th floor? Don't let me find a weapon? Messing up our rhythm, messing up our minds? Forcefully increase the number of rescues? Want to blackmail me out? Damn it, even if I'm only in the first 3 floors, I can still make it to the top 8. Chapter 304. Beautiful Angel, Calling You from Afar. Lying on the bed, Jiang Shao played with his mobile phone leisurely and hummed a tune. Brave young man, get up quickly and find your penis. At the side, Li Wei turned to look at Jiang Shao with a peculiar expression. He had never heard the song before, and was not sure what the lyrics were either. However, it was clearly not what Jiang Shao was singing at the moment. While singing, Jiang Shao put down his mobile phone and walked into the bathroom. At this moment, his face was glowing and he seemed to be in high spirits. Li Wei sat up on the bed, feeling a little perturbed. Did this kid really go to find that thing? Does he really need to find that thing? Jiang Shao was in a good mood. He turned on the shower and gave himself a blessing. Okay, ever since he could use his mobile phone again, Jiang Shao scrolled through his messages to see that there were plenty of congratulatory messages from everyone in the school, including the principal, teachers, and classmates. Jiang Shao picked a few that he should reply to, such as the Zhu brothers and Principal Yan. Jiang Shao knew that he should reply to the messages from the Zhu brothers. After all, they were one of the few friends he had. The two brothers were enthusiastic and meticulous, and they were worth befriending. Besides, Jiang Shao had relied on their team as a springboard for him to get to where he was today. Jiang Shao also had to reply to Principal Yan's message because he was still thinking of getting something good out of the principal's pocket. His sound of silence was only of gold quality level 8 now, and he was still short of 2 fallen shadow which star beads. At this moment, Jiang Zhao's Weibo had already exploded. In just 3 to 5 days, Jiang Zhao's fans had increased from 80,000 to 170,000. The preliminary round of the National League gave Jiang Shao a huge boost of 90,000 fans, which indeed gave him a great shock. When he logged into Weibo, there were piles of private messages, and Jiang Shao thought that his account had been stolen and used as a marketing account to deceive others. Besides, the rate at which his fans increased did not slow down at all, and the number of fans was still increasing rapidly. After entering the semi-finals, Jiang Shao reckoned that he would be able to attract another wave of fans. Before putting his mobile phone down and going to take a shower, Jiang Shao posted on Weibo, "Jiang Xiaopi mischievous or not, just sent from Huawei, Mate 8 look at how inexperienced you guys are. P.S. Day 263 of liking little Jiangxue." After posting the Weibo post, Jiang Shao got up and went to create a miracle. While Jiang Shao was bathing, a large number of replies flooded in. "Wow, little toxic healer, you've lived a long life. I can finally see Beijiang province entering the semi-finals. I'm crying my heart out. I love you, Jiang Xiaopi. I love you." Jiang Xiaopi, the king of toxic healers. The flower of the North River. Light of the North River. Xiaopi Xiaopi. You've finally entered the semi-finals. Can you kowtow to me? Hello, is this the Weibo of Jiang Xiaopi, one of the top 8 players in the country? I understand the logic, but how did you calculate 263 days? Sister Chumo is so pretty. Xiaopi, bring her back to Beijiang. Brother-in-law is already at the entrance of the hotel. Which room is your sister in? I'm telling you, do you dare to go in? I'll whip you until you look like braised pork skin. Hee kid, how are you going to lose the match in 3 days? Qing Mei. Come, Xiaopi, come over and let me hug you, Omega. At the same time, Xia Yan and Han Jiangxue were also watching television and playing with their mobile phones in their rooms. The 2 girls woke up earlier and even went to the hotel's restaurant for breakfast. The 2 Beijiang chicks, who were extremely good-looking, had indeed become a beautiful sight. Unfortunately, Xia Yan found out about the rankings of the competition when she was eating breakfast. Then, her beautiful sight crumbled. The goddess Yan persona was given to her by the outside world. People spread false rumors and gradually deified Xia Yan. It should be noted that goddess Yan actually had a husky in her heart. Under Han Jiangxue's stern gaze, Xia Yan finally finished her breakfast. However, after returning to their room, Xia Yan went completely crazy. There was a word that could describe Xia Yan's state at this moment. Although Han Jiangxue had a cold personality, it would be a lie to say that she wasn't excited after obtaining such excellent result. In her room, she no longer kept an eye on Xia Yan and let her do whatever she wanted. Han Jiangxue was in a great mood and there was a hint of a smile on her tensed face. She received fewer calls, but Xia Yan received countless calls in the morning. Hence, she was finally free for a while. At this moment, both of their phones rang at the same time. It was a WeChat message from the 4 of them. The 2 of them turned on their mobile phones to take a look, only to realize that it was a Weibo post that they were particularly concerned about. Xia Yan raised her eyebrows and thought to herself, This kid didn't come here to pay his respects after waking up. Instead, he posted on Weibo first? Look at you guys, you're so inexperienced. Haha, go ahead and go all out. You're indeed worthy of being my toxic healer. Xia Yan was elated. After all, she was also a member of the team that created history. She could also be the protagonist of that sentence. However, the following text made Xia Yan stunned. What the hell? 263 days? Did this kid calculate it so clearly? Why don't I believe it? Did he use a date calculator to calculate it on the internet? Heh, this little trick can only fool ignorant little girls. Xia Yan turned around, only to see that Han Jiangshua's cold and aloof face had melted like ice and snow. A charming smile appeared on her face as she switched off her mobile phone, feeling rather gratified. Xia Yan was speechless. Hai Tianqing soon found out that the team members had all awakened. After knocking on their doors one by one, they agreed to go out for lunch. The temperature in Chang'an City in early May was rather high, and Jiang Shao was dressed rather skimpily. However, that also caused some trouble for him and his team. The slow-witted Jiang Shao finally realized that he was rather famous now. Although there weren't any fanatical fans chasing after him, he would still attract a lot of attention and even autograph. Should I wear a cap next time I go out? That should save me some trouble. However, to be honest, even if they weren't famous, Han Jiangxue and Xia Yan would still attract the attention of many people. After all, their height and figure were like the dazzling sun that made it hard for them not to be noticed. After the experience of being recognized this time, everyone thought that they should dress up before going out next time. Hai Tianqing had booked a restaurant that served northern cuisine. According to him, it would be a good choice to bring the children to eat his hometown's dishes. After all, they wouldn't miss home if they were full. However, in the northern cuisine restaurant, everyone ordered a bunch of Sichuan and Hunan dishes, which were really appetizing. Everyone was almost spitting fire out of their mouths as they ate. It was also Jiang Zhao's first time finding out that the rice in Chang'an City was based on the number of bowls. The waiter was a little dumbfounded too. He looked at Xia Yan and then at Jiang Shao. Some people look beautiful on the surface, while some look skinny on the surface, but they're actually good-for-nothings? Two good-for-nothings? While pouring a drink for Jiang Shao, Han Jiangshu asked, Teacher Hai, have you investigated the matter that I asked you about previously? Gulp. Seeing this scene, Xia Yan downed the peach juice in her glass and carefully pushed the empty glass towards Han Jiangshu. Han Jiangshu rolled her eyes at Xia Yan coldly, but she still poured the juice for her. Seeing this scene, Xia Yan raised her head and humphed at Jiang Shao with a look of joy. Jiang Shao was dumbfounded. Are you a primary school student? 3-year-old Xia? Hai Tianqing couldn't help but smile as he looked at everyone and said, That cloaked man has also appeared in the cameras of the other two teams, but just like what you guys have recorded, the other two teams have very little footage of the cloaked man. After you guys, the cloaked man appeared twice more and was never seen again. Hai Tianqing thought about it and continued, although the cloaked man only appeared a few times, he still attracted a lot of attention. The official reply was that he was a member of the military and the cloaked man was a staff member who maintained order in the ancient imperial mausoleum. A staff member. Han Jiangshu nodded secretly. Hai Tianqing interjected, Let's stop talking about this. No matter what you guys saw, that's their internal affair. What you guys have to think about is the semi-finals. Hai Tianqing pushed his gold-rimmed spectacles and smiled approvingly. Although I want to celebrate too, the semi-finals will begin soon. We can't be arrogant and complacent, let alone relax. How about it? Do you guys have anything to say? Huh? You let me speak? It's finally my turn, huh? While stuffing himself with food, Jiang Shao listened to Hai Tianqing's long speech for more than 10 minutes. He finally seized the opportunity. Forget it if you don't want me to say it, but you're the one who asked me to say it. Jiang Shao said, "We've all entered the top 8. We've made history. Aren't the school and the Provincial Star Association going to give us some rewards? 2 gold quality star beads? Platinum star beads will do too." Hai Tianqing was speechless. Han Jiangxue suddenly said, "I want to climb Mount Hua." Hai Tianqing asked, "Huh?" Han Jiangxue said, "Tonight." Xia Yan asked in bewilderment, "Why?" Han Jiangxue lowered her head and smiled. She said softly, "To see the galaxy." Everyone looked at each other, only to see astonishment, shock, ecstasy, and even fanaticism on each other's faces. Galaxy? Chapter 305. May 9, 1800 at night. The group of people drove to the foot of Mount Hua. Of course, Han Jiangxue's suggestion was accepted by everyone. It was also impossible for her to break through in an official hotel. There were too many people there. If something went wrong during the breakthrough, it would be too late for regret. Han Jiangxue initially thought that Mount Hua would be quiet at night, but she was still young, after all, and had underestimated people's love for the mountains and rivers of the motherland. Due to the fact that there were many people watching the sunrise, there were many people who climbed the mountain at night. Everyone carried their school bags, water, and coats, and hurried in before the mountain top closed. At first, it was just a slightly sloping uphill road that was not at all steep. Later on, Jiang Shao finally understood what it meant by, "There was only one path in Mount Hua." When Jiang Shao walked in the 100-foot gorge that only allowed one person to pass through at a time, Li Wei's heels were right in front of him. It was said that many people would go to the East Peak to watch the stars and the sunrise, so it was the first choice for most tourists. Everyone went to the relatively steep West Peak. There was no need to doubt the physical fitness of this group of awakened students. They didn't deliberately speed up along the way. They looked at the moon in the sky and the people behind them, playing along the way. Sometimes they would listen to the people on the road, talking about the 5 lakes and 4 seas. It was quite an enjoyment. At 11 p.m., the group climbed up the steep West Peak, but this was still not enough. As long as it was a scenic spot, there would be tourists regardless of whether it was 11 p.m. or 2 a.m. Xia Yan and Li Wei were abandoned, and Han Jiangxue said that she wanted to go to the mountain peak that was not open to tourists. She wanted Jiang Shao to accompany her and witness this crucial moment of hers. Xia Yan pouted her lips and immediately expressed that she didn't need Han Jiangxue's barren wind because she could use the body of star power on her own. Although Mount Hua was huge, she could also become bigger. Her star power giant blade could be used as a climbing pick, and she could climb anywhere. Hai Tianqing was taken aback and quickly dismissed Xia Yan's thoughts. Xia Yan was extremely upset. After accompanying her goddess and crawling for several hours, she was abandoned just like that. Xia Yan looked aggrieved. Jiang Shao felt extremely comfortable. "We, the common people, are really, really happy." Han Jiangxue glanced around and carefully controlled barren wind to fly away with Jiang Shao under the cover of the night. Hai Tianqing gave Li Wei a few instructions, after which he displayed his extraordinary agility and followed the siblings away. Li Wei and Xia Yan were left staring at each other. Jiang Shao didn't find it troublesome. On the contrary, he thought that Han Jiangxue had chosen a good place. Some people would never be able to break through to the nebula stage. At this crucial juncture, Han Jiangxue did not think that there was anything wrong with choosing such a beautiful place. In other words, as long as she was happy, everything was as it should be. Hai Tianqing's performance made Jiang Shao click his tongue in amazement. After all, Hai Tianqing was a medical awakened star warrior, and not a melee fighter. It was indeed an eye-opener for Jiang Shao to be so powerful. "By the way, Teacher Hai, I heard that breaking through to the galaxy stage is the last qualitative leap in our physical fitness?" Jiang Shao and Hai Tianqing stood side by side under a tree far away. The mountain peak was not a tip as it seemed from afar. When one stood on it, they would realize that the area was really large and uneven. It was also overgrown with trees. Jiang Shao looked at the beautiful figure standing on the edge of the cliff in the distance and spoke in a low voice, seemingly afraid of disturbing Han Jiangxue. The mountain breeze blew her jet-black hair, causing it to sway in a beautiful rhythm. Dressed in white, she raised her stunningly charming face and quietly looked at the bright stars in the night sky, like a fairy. Hai Tianqing said softly, "The galaxy stage represents entering the next level. All along, physical fitness has been linked to the level of star power, and they complement each other. Physical fitness is considered the foundation. After you build this foundation, it will automatically send you a signal to show that your body is strong enough to withstand more star power and a higher level of physical strength." Jiang Shao nodded and said, "Okay." Hai Tianqing continued, "Then, when your star power breaks through to the galaxy stage, the total amount of star power will increase greatly. They will also nourish you in time and bring about a huge improvement in your physical fitness, improving your physical strength." Jiang Shao seemed a little eager and said, "That sounds really tempting." Hai Tianqing smiled and said, "This is also the last time your physical fitness and star power will cooperate to improve. From now on, star power will be star power, and your body will be your body." Jiang Shao replied, "I've long heard that after the galaxy stage, your body will no longer be restrained by you. What really affects the improvement of star power is talent. There's also hard work and luck." Hai Tianqing's eyes lit up when he saw the white flame star map on the body of the girl in the distance. He said, "The galaxy stage is the symbol of a star warrior. Reaching this realm means that your physical strength has reached the minimum standard of a star warrior. You can fly as high as you want, and you can even go to the star sea or the starry sky. However, the galaxy stage is just the starting point of a true star warrior. It's just the starting point." Jiang Shao smacked his lips and said in displeasure, "In that case, most people in this world are amateurs?" Hai Tianqing nodded and said, "Indeed. Many people can't get to the next level in their entire lives. You're still young now. One day in the future, when you're stuck at a certain point in the nebula stage, you'll know how terrifying your sister's talent is. You'll also be able to imagine how much hard work she has put in to get to where she is today." Jiang Shao was dumbfounded. "Can't you say something nicer? I'll be stuck at a certain point in the nebula stage? What a joke. I'll advance to the galaxy stage in no time. Do you believe me?" Hai Tianqing suddenly frowned and pushed the gold-rimmed glasses up the bridge of his nose. He saw the star bead in Han Jiangshue's hand. Hai Tianqing did not know what star bead it was, but he could feel the violent star power even though he was far away from her. As the star bead in Han Jiangshue's hand turned into spots of starlight, they scattered and surrounded her body. The surging star power was like a surging river that filled the entire empty mountain peak. However, Jiang Shao knew who the star bead belonged to. It was Mama Gao's star bead. If it could really allow Han Jiangxue to break through to the galaxy stage, it would be a worthy death for her. Little Jiangxue is about to enter the galaxy stage soon. She has 8 more star slots. You're right, we shouldn't be satisfied with the results in front of us, Jiang Shao said softly. Hai Tianqing nodded thoughtfully and did not respond. Jiang Shao took the opportunity to say, "The Provincial Department of Education, the Provincial Star Association, the school, or even the organizers of the competition who said that they would give us special attention. No matter which party it is, can you help negotiate with them and help her get some practical star beads?" Jiang Shao was thick-skinned and it didn't matter whether he wanted it or not. What was important was Han Jiangshue's future. If he could get some particularly precious star beads and powerful star techniques from the Provincial Department of Education and the Provincial Star Association, it would be especially beneficial to Han Jiangshue's growth. It was a rare opportunity. If Han Jiangxue could break through at this juncture, she might really be able to get some funding from the big shots. Hai Tianqing suddenly smiled. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly as he said, Xiaopi, believe me. I'm on the same side as all of you. I'm not only your teacher, but I've also watched all of you along the way. I'll do my best. Jiang Shao was a little touched. As a former guardian of the night, Hai Tianqing's abilities and character were guaranteed. Although he was fired, Jiang Shao could roughly understand Hai Tianqing's character after interacting with him for such a long time. At the critical moment, the former light-chasing team recruited Hai Tianqing again. That was the greatest acknowledgement of Hai Tianqing. Putting aside the specific reason for Hai Tianqing's dismissal, Jiang Shao felt more assured after hearing Hai Tianqing's words. At the same time, Jiang Shao added with a clear goal, it'd be great if I can get a few more fallen shadow witch star beads. If little Jiangxue can have sound of silence, that would be great. Jiang Shao had no idea what kind of star beads the other forces could sponsor Han Jiangxue, but he was certain that the platinum sound of silence was definitely more powerful than the gold sound of silence. It was a tangible improvement. On one hand, Jiang Shao could make up for himself, but on the other hand, he could help the entire team. However, Hai Tianqing said, this year, there are 200 teams and 800 participants, but only 3 of them have sound of silence. Do you know how talented they are? Xiaopi, you can't imagine how difficult it is to absorb sound of silence. Jiang Shao said calmly, Teacher, have you forgotten that I have sound of silence? Hai Tianqing was speechless. Jiang Shao said, I can imagine. Hai Tianqing said, Shu, look, Han Jiangxue is moving. Jiang Shao chuckled and glanced at the embarrassed Hai Tianqing before turning to look at Han Jiangxue. After taking a look, he could no longer shift his gaze away. The beautiful scene in front of him was indeed something that could only be found in the sky. Although the girl in a snow-white robe was not wearing an ancient costume, she exuded a noble and elegant aura. It was as if she was surrounded by a fairy aura. Under the bright starry sky, the girl's long black hair danced in the wind, accompanied by the starlight and swaying a beautiful melody. The star map of the white flames in front of her was like a ferocious beast that seemed to be burning all the star power in the world. However, it was actually fusing everything around her into its own flames. Such a domineering and ferocious scene that seemed to swallow the heavens and devour the earth formed a sharp contrast with the girl's quiet and elegant face. Hai Tianqing was right. She moved. She slowly opened her eyes and raised her head to look at the vast and boundless starry sky. She gently raised her right hand and reached for the dazzling galaxy. She stood aloof from the world and plucked the stars with her hands. From now on, I shall be you guys. Chapter 306. Han Jiangxue had changed. She had become stronger. Jiang Shao could clearly sense that her physical fitness had improved qualitatively. At this point, Jiang Shao could tell how powerful Hai Tianqing was. He was also a powerhouse in the galaxy stage, but he had never shown such an oppressive aura in front of everyone. On the contrary, he was just like an ordinary boy next door who rarely gave others pressure. He could do it with ease. Perhaps it was because of Hai Tianqing's personality. After all, he was a spare tire and a kind-hearted man. Or perhaps it was because of his professional ethics as a teacher. He didn't want to put too much pressure on the children and hence taught them in a more approachable style. In contrast, Jiang Zhao's other teacher, second last, was much more terrifying. As a galaxy stage, no, a starfall stage cultivator, second last's physical strength was obvious to all. She had never cared about Jiang Zhao's feelings and had always done things her own way. No matter how mischievous Jiang Shao was, he would always be terrified of her. For example, if Jiang Shao were to fight against second last, he would definitely be filled with despair because he knew that he had no chance of winning at all. However, if Jiang Shao was fighting against Hai Tianqing, Jiang Shao would have the thought of giving it a try. Who gave Jiang Shao such confidence? Who gave Jiang Shao such an illusion? The answer was, of course, the gentle teacher, Hai Tianqing. After Han Jiangxue, who had advanced to the galaxy stage, returned, Jiang Shao clearly felt the huge difference in physical fitness. The difference might even cause psychological damage. Jiang Shao was still fine. After all, he was now just a small fry in the early nebula stage. However, when the melee fighter Xia Yan discovered that her speed was inferior to the rules-awakened Han Jiangxue, and when the shield warrior Li Wei discovered that his strength was inferior to the rules-awakened Han Jiangxue's, the children might really be traumatized. It was only a matter of time before they were discovered. Jiang Shao hoped that Hai Tianqing could guide Xia Yan and Li Wei properly so that they could continue to grow and develop healthily. Jealousy, inferiority complex, eagerness for quick success, and even self-abandonment were all negative emotions that could hinder the development of an awakened student or even hinder them for life. There was a qualitative difference between the galaxy stage and the nebula stage. Just like what Hai Tianqing once said, advancing to the galaxy stage was also the last time the body and star power would cooperate to improve. Physical fitness laid a solid foundation for the realm of star power, while the realm of star power nourished one's physical fitness. Under such circumstances, Han Jiangxue was not on the same level as the other three members of the team. Han Jiangxue, who was in the galaxy stage, made Jiang Shao clearly feel the difference between them. Jiang Shao also recalled the scene when he encountered the foreign mercenaries in the snowfield. Now that he thought about it, he felt a lingering fear. What did it mean to say that a newborn calf is not afraid of a tiger? What do you mean by being ignorant, you're fearless? If Jiang Shao were given another chance, he might still do the same thing, but he definitely wouldn't be as confident. Perhaps he would be filled with determination. His mentality would definitely be different. In that case, Second Last might not only admire Jiang Shao for staying by her side and dragging her back from hell after she self-destructed, but she also admired his courage. After all, Second Last had been controlled by the mercenaries' Earth Star technique previously, and Jiang Shao had used his strategy and the star technique decoy to save her once. That was why she self-destructed later on. Be gentle, big sister, it hurts. It was probably the second time that Jiang Shao had addressed Han Jiangxue as big sister. Of course, he did not refer to her as the big sister that older women usually addressed. Instead, he referred to her as big sister. Han Jiangxue hurriedly let go of him and took a step back. Just now, Han Jiangxue had successfully broken through and was surrounded by rich star power. She walked back step by step. She had a faint smile on her lips, and Jiang Shao could tell how elated she was. Jiang Shao was also very happy. Under the vast and beautiful Milky Way, the snow goddess was walking towards him step by step. Who could resist such a dreamy scene? Then, Han Jiangxue hugged Jiang Shao, feeling blissful, elated, and excited. However, such a celebratory gesture brought Jiang Shao immense pain. Jiang Shao was dumbfounded, in pain, and broke down. He was dragged back to reality from his beautiful dream. Jiang Shao felt that he was almost strangled to death. Looking at the bewildered Han Jiangxue, Hai Tianqing frantically said, "You're just not used to the changes in your body during the galaxy stage. It's all right. May 13th is the first round of the semifinals. We still have a few days to get used to it. You don't have to worry." Han Jiangxue did not reply and simply looked at Jiang Shao. Hai Tianqing finally realized that she was indeed at a loss for what to do, but she mostly felt sorry for Jiang Shao and blamed herself. As an outstanding mentor, Hai Tianqing immediately understood her mental state. Don't worry about him. You just used a little more force. How painful can it be? Hai Tianqing said with a smile. Jiang Shao was dumbfounded. How painful can it be? Damn it. Do you know how much force she used just now? Damn it! What kind of bullsh asterisk T is this? Who the F asterisk CK arranged this for me? Don't you know Xiaopi? He's just pretending. Hai Tianqing then turned to look at Jiang Shao and said, Stop pretending. If you continue to be naughty, I'll kick you. Jiang Shao stood up straight and smirked. He mimicked Hai Tianqing and put on a warm smile that was befitting of Hai Tianqing. Hai Tianqing said, Look at how happy he is. Jiang Shao was speechless. Han Jiangxue raised her eyebrows and sized Jiang Shao up without responding. She understood Jiang Shao very well, but she did not expose him. Instead, she quietly accepted their care. The team gathered again. Although Han Jiangxue's breakthrough was quite a huge commotion, her breakthrough was not noticed by the others in the secluded and empty forest of the mountains. Hence, it saved them a lot of trouble. Xia Yan hugged Han Jiangxue's arm and chattered nonstop. After receiving the news that she had successfully broken through, Xia Yan almost turned into a husky again. However, even if she didn't pout, she still had a smile on her face. That made Jiang Shao feel much more at ease. He could tell that Xia Yan was genuinely happy for Han Jiangxue. Since they were already there, they decided to watch the sunrise. If nothing went wrong, the accommodation on the top of the mountain would be fully booked. Without a reservation, they would have to rent a military coat and lie down beside a rock. Xia Yan wanted to use her money ability, but Han Jiangxue suggested that she could take the opportunity to train her star power. For the awakened students, absorbing star power for a few hours was nothing out of the ordinary. Even if the star power in their bodies was already full, they could try their best to increase the upper limit of their star power storage by continuously absorbing star power. That was a conventional method to improve one's realm. At this point, Xia Yan no longer insisted on spending money to sleep. The four of them found a random corner on the mountain peak and sat down before beginning to absorb star power. A few hours passed quickly, and they finally welcomed the beautiful sunrise on the peak of Huashan. The dazzling galaxy last night was beautiful, but the sun at dawn today was even more beautiful. However, that was not the most beautiful thing. The truly beautiful thing was Han Jiangxue's charming, no. The truly beautiful thing was that a bunch of representatives from Beijiang Province, the relevant municipal departments, the Beijiang Provincial Department of Education, the Beijiang Provincial Star Association, Jiangbin High School, and a bunch of other departments rushed to Chang'an City a day later. Not only did the big shots greet and praise them, but they also brought condolences. The members of the team looked rather disheveled when they received the leaders, but they smiled beautifully when they took their star beads. The 35-year history was not something that could be broken just because one wanted to. At the end of the day, strength was the foundation of everything. Perhaps breaking the record was the key to the leader's trip, but Han Jiangxue, who had advanced to the galaxy stage, should also be one of the reasons why they came. Talent was given. Greatness was something that one had to fight for. There were countless talented people in the world. Not to mention the 800 contestants in this competition, which one of them wasn't, which one of the 799 contestants wasn't a young talent with a large number of star slots. The real difficulty was to fulfill one's talent. Han Jiangxue did it. Everyone seemed to have seen a bright future for this rising star. For the sake of her future, for the sake of the results of Beijiang Province, and for the sake of political achievements, the leaders brought generous condolences. That wasn't all. The team's itinerary seemed to have been finalized too. They had to accept some interviews, say some things, and do some things that they had to do. It was as if there were suddenly 10,000 tasks on their shoulders. Of course, the leaders were very humane and decided that everything would be done after the college entrance examination. That made the four of them feel much more at ease. Jiang Shao didn't care. He would worry about it tomorrow. As for today, he looked at the pile of sparkling star beads and felt that he would probably wake up smiling even in his dreams. He wouldn't be worried at all. Chapter 307. The news that Han Jiangxue had advanced to the next level of star power was an absolute bombshell. It was not just news at the provincial and city level, but news that affected the entire nation. The first thing that was affected was the betting odds of the betting companies. Forget it, I won't elaborate on the specifics. Let's just talk about the competition. In a regular competition where the two armies fought, a rules awakened in the galaxy stage was far more powerful than a melee awakened in the galaxy stage. Even when Han Jiangxue had yet to advance, the champion of the competition was little Yinhua from Nanyue province. Even so, everyone still said that the rules awakened were the kings of this year. The rules awakened were synonymous with orthodoxy and also the symbol of a king. Now that Han Jiangxue had advanced to the galaxy stage, the title of the rules awakened was probably unshakable. In order to pursue the greatest benefits, Hai Tianqing revealed the news that Han Jiangxue had advanced to the galaxy stage when communicating with the various parties in the province. Due to the large number of people, the news spread like wildfire throughout the entire China in just one day. Han Jiangxue was well protected in the vortex, and the team stayed in the hotel designated by the officials without going out or meeting anyone. They ate and stayed in the hotel and practiced their battle tactics in the spacious room provided by the hotel. They lived a life of seclusion. Of course, that was all in the future. At this moment, everyone in the team was looking at the star beads on the table, all of them immersed in their emotions. The problem of favoritism had always been a problem that could not be solved since ancient times. Even if the twins were born at the same time and were your own flesh and blood, you would still love the one you loved more. The love of parents was the greatest and most selfless, but even so, it could be distinguished. What else in the world couldn't be distinguished? Han Jiangxue was obviously the most favored one. Most of the star beads on the table were prepared for her. Although everyone in the team was part of history and deserved to be rewarded, the reality was cruel. Hai Tianqing found a good angle to comfort them. After all, you guys have already absorbed all your star techniques, and Han Jiangxue can still absorb 8 star technique. Hence, reward her more. If she can absorb more star techniques, we'll have a higher chance of advancing to the next round. Fortunately, none of the 4 members of the team were resentful or jealous. Xia Yan was as fanatical about Han Jiangxue as ever, and Li Wei was a magnanimous person too. Jiang Shao, on the other hand, felt that little Jiangxue was one of them and there was nothing to explain. Otherwise, this so-called prize was simply a poison that destroyed the unity of the team. Among the pile of shiny star beads on the table, Xia Yan got 3 gold-quality star beads from Shadow Domain according to their functions. The Shadow Domain was a unique dimensional space in Tianjin and Yanzhou province. Among the alternate dimensions of the Shadow series, the more famous one was the Shadow Cave. There were creatures that everyone was more familiar with: Fallen Shadow Witch, Fallen Shadow Warrior, Fallen Shadow Thorn, and Fallen Shadow Demon. Jiang Zhao's resentment, countercurrent light, and sound of silence came from the Fallen Shadow Witch. In the Shadow Domain, there was also a group of terrifying shadow creatures: Fallen Shadow Spirits, Fallen Shadow Hunters, Fallen Shadow Spirits, and Fallen Shadow Masters. Most of the Shadow Star techniques of the Tianjin team members were from the Shadow Domain. Liu Yang's Shadow Summoning, Shadow Manifestation, and Gold-quality Star Technique Pursuing Shadow were all from the Fallen Shadow Spirit. However, Xia Yan did not get the Fallen Shadow Spirit Star Bead. As mentioned previously, although Xia Yan was also a melee fighter, her path was completely different from that of Liu Yang and Xin Xing of Kainan Province. After going to university, there would be more factions for melee fighters. At this moment, Xia Yan obtained the fallen Shadow Master Star Bead, which contained 3 star techniques: Shadow Apprentice, Shadow Warrior, and Shadow Master. They were all summoning star techniques that allowed one to condense star power and summon powerful shadows to assist in battle. The summoned shadows would possess a certain level of strength of the summoner according to their quality. In other words, the shadow was not the shadow of others, but the shadow of the summoner. The strength that the shadow could exert in the end depended entirely on the summoner. The Shadow Apprentice could exert 20% of the strength of the summoner, the Shadow Warrior could exert 40% of the strength of the summoner, and the Shadow Master could exert 60% of the summoner's strength. The percentages were terrifying, and such star beads were typical star beads that were beyond quality. They belonged to the kind of star beads that were beyond the 3 realms and the 5 elements. Why did he say that? It was because the quality could not limit the upper limit of the star technique. It was true that the Shadow Master star technique was of gold quality and could not be upgraded. However, the summoner's strength could be improved. The Shadow Master summoned by Xia Yan in the Nebula stage was worlds apart from the Shadow Master summoned by Xia Yan in the Galaxy stage. The gold-quality Shadow Master could even use the summoner's star techniques that were below silver quality. Similarly, the silver-quality Shadow Warrior could use the summoner's star techniques of brass quality. As for the brass-quality Shadow Apprentice, it was purely a combat shadow that could not use any star techniques. To Jiang Shao, such a star technique was extremely painful. Why? It was because, in essence, the shadow was used for combat and not for support. If Jiang Shao wanted that star technique, he would have to have a large amount of it. Otherwise, it would be a useless star technique for Jiang Shao. For example, at this moment, Jiang Shao had absorbed the gold-quality Shadow Master. The Shadow Master that he summoned would have 60% of Jiang Shao's strength. At present, Jiang Shao was in the Nebula stage level 2, true physical strength. If he had 60%, well, the Shadow Master would probably be in the Stardust stage. Of course, Jiang Shao's strength would increase, but that was not a reason to reject the star technique. What was really important was, in Jiang Shao's pile of golden star maps, the gold-quality Shadow Master could only use silver-quality Blessing and Decoy. The rest of the star techniques could not be used because all of Jiang Shao's other star techniques were of gold quality. Besides, the quality of Jiang Shao's star techniques would always be upgraded. Hence, the Shadow Master had to be of a higher quality than all the star techniques in Jiang Shao's star map. Otherwise, the Shadow Master would just be a pure shadow that would not be able to use any star technique. Hence, the problem was, could such star beads be sufficient? The Shadow Domain was the same as the Shadow Cave. They were not open to the public at all. Besides, everything just now was just a conjecture. What if the gold-quality Shadow Master was upgraded and became a platinum-quality Shadow Master, but the platinum-quality Shadow Master did not improve the use of star techniques and could only use star techniques that were below silver quality? What else could Jiang Shao do apart from crying? I can still cry? Hence, this star technique was prepared for output and not for support. At least, it was not suitable for Jiang Shao, who was covered in golden star slots. Li Wei received 3 fallen Shadow Warrior star beads from the Shadow Cave, which contained the star techniques Shadow Spear, Shadow Shield, and Shadow Hammer. Jiang Shao was no stranger to those star techniques, because back when he was in the Provincial High School League, the organizers had mistakenly given the fallen Shadow Warrior star bead to Jiang Shao. He had also read about the functions of those star techniques through his internal star map. It had offensive and defensive properties, and it also had soul attacks. It was a very good star bead. Jiang Shao also received 3 star beads, which were the fallen Shadow Witch star beads. In fact, in the eyes of everyone, Jiang Shao already had the sound of silence. Hence, why did the fallen Shadow Witch star bead be given to Jiang Shao? The answer was, of course, to give it to Han Jiangxue in disguise. It was because Hai Tianqing had requested more than once for Han Jiangxue to have the sound of silence too, in order to greatly improve the strength of the team. Hai Tianqing followed Jiang Zhao's wishes and helped Han Jiangxue obtain the fallen shadow, which star bead. However, what Hai Tianqing didn't know was that Jiang Zhao was using Han Jiangxi as an excuse to pocket the star bead. The official delegation of leaders gave everyone star beads from the Shadow Cave and the Shadow Realm. During the Provincial League, the star beads that were used as prizes also came from the Shadow Cave. Hence, Jiang Zhao couldn't help but think that Beijiang Province had a close relationship with Tianjin or Yanzhou Province. The reason why the Beijiang Province team could make it to where they were today was because of the strong support from either Tianjin or Yanzhou. Jiang Zhao initially thought that the official reward for Han Jiangxue would also come from the Shadow Cave and the Shadow Realm. After all, there were platinum-quality fallen shadow demons in the Shadow Cave and powerful creatures of other dimensions like the fallen shadow souls in the Shadow Realm. To his surprise, the star bead that belonged to Han Jiangxue was not related to Shadow. 3 lightning and 3 flames. Although Han Jiangxue's name was rather similar to the ice element, he reckoned that she would probably be taking the path of thunder and fire element in the future. That was understandable. After all, Han Jiangxue's star map was white flames, which would definitely be the most suitable for Fire Series star technique. Besides, the Thunderbolt star technique was the one with the most explosive output. Any rules awakened that focused on output would probably have a Thunderbolt star technique. The 3 Thunder Star beads came from Haisu, Shanghai, and Zhujiang East. The 3 Fire Star beads came from Beijing, which was known for its fire technique. The Violent Lightning output star technique was fine, but the 3 star beads from the capital contained 3 auxiliary-type star technique. Some were defensive, some were detection, and some were distancing. After thinking about it carefully, he reckoned that the leaders might be worried about Li Wei and Jiang Zhao. Chapter 308. Flame Soul Star Bead Gold Quality Star Technique 1. Flame Path. Blooms of flame flowers on the ground you step on. Comes with a slight burning effect. Within a certain range, when others approach the flame flowers, the caster will also receive information about the location of the target. Has a certain detection effect. Silver quality, upgradable. 2. Flame Rejection. Condenses star power and creates a rapidly expanding ring of fire with oneself as the center. While bringing a burning effect to the enemy, it will also push the enemy away. Silver quality, upgradable. 3. Flame Shield. Consumes a large amount of star power to summon a translucent flame shield to envelop you and block most of the damage for you. Gold quality, upgradable. Do you want to absorb them together? Jiang Zhao licked his lips and thought, it's really an auxiliary star technique of the fire element. Look at these 3 star techniques: detection, distance, and shield. Flame Path is rather interesting. Although it has a burning effect, I reckon no one would be silly enough to step on such a large flame flower, right? The burning effect is secondary. The key is the detection function. If someone approaches the flame flower, the user will receive information. This star technique is a little disgusting. However, the star technique did not introduce how long the flame flower would last, and the description of distance was also very vague. It only mentioned that if the caster was within a certain range of the flame flower, they would receive information about the location of others. What if the range was 1 meter? What's the point of receiving information about others? Do I need you to tell me when I'm so close? Unknowingly, Jiang Zhao had turned into a little stick spirit. The flame rejection was not bad. It had the same effect as green glow and was also a star technique for distancing oneself. However, green glow could only cause minor injuries, while the flame rejection could repel the opponent in a 360-degree manner. It also had a burning effect. Note that the burning effect was not mild. Jiang Shao reckoned that the opponents who were repelled by the flame rejection would probably be in great pain. Those two star techniques were both of silver quality, and the real highlight was probably the gold quality flame shield. Jiang Shao carefully discovered the difference in the introduction. It said, "Create a translucent shield to envelop you?" In other words, you're not summoning a flame shield, but a flame eggshell? Isn't this also a 360-degree all-around defensive star technique? How worried are the big shots of Beijiang province? Hai Tianqing held the tablet in his hand and played a video about the star technique, Flame Soul, for Han Jiangshu. Everyone watched the specific effects of the star technique and realized that it was no different from what Jiang Shao had guessed. The functions were similar, but the degree of coolness was far beyond Jiang Zhao's imagination. Especially that flame shield, it was simply too gorgeous. The Star Warrior who was demonstrating in the video summoned the gold-quality flame shield, and in an instant, an eggshell shrouded the Star Warrior. The eggshell was translucent and slightly crimson. On the eggshell, there were flickering lines of fire that shuttled back and forth. Under the layers of star power, it was extremely beautiful. One of the Star Warriors was holding a spear and thrusting it at the Star Warrior. The translucent flame shield that was glowing with a crimson color appeared quietly, and layers of flames blocked the spear, making it difficult for it to penetrate the shield and hurt the Star Warrior. At the same time, the other parts of the eggshell that were originally slightly red were almost transparent, as if all the star power and flames were concentrated on the point that was attacked. However, that was just an illusion of the spectators. In the video, another Star Warrior also appeared behind the Star Warrior, who also thrusted his spear at him. The Star Warrior did not move at all, but there were naturally layers of flames behind him that were burning. The flame shield did have its own thoughts. When it was attacked from one side, it would go all out to intercept the other. If it was attacked from multiple directions, it would quickly split up to rescue the Star Warrior. More and more Star Warriors appeared and thrusted their spears 360 degrees from top to bottom. The crimson eggshell was already completely transparent. Flaming flowers bloomed around the Star Warrior one after another, blocking every spear that came stabbing at him. The scene was extremely gorgeous. Jiang Shao couldn't help but wonder if the flame shield would also become a dense cluster of flames if it were to be stabbed by a dense cluster of needles. If that were to happen, would Han Jiangshu feel like she was living in a dragon fruit? She would scare the terrorists to death. The flame soul comes from the dimensional space of the Fire Source mountain range in the capital. Such star beads are very precious, and their star techniques are very practical. Hai Tianqing held onto the tablet and turned to look at Han Jiangshu. Be it for this competition or your future, it will be very useful. Hai Tianqing's meaning was already very obvious, and Han Jiangshu was also very interested in the flame shield. Hence, she immediately sorted out her emotions and picked up the flame soul star bead. Unlike Han Jiangshu, Xia Yan preferred the star technique, flame path. Xia Yan imagined Goddess Xue dressed in a white wedding gown and walking towards her gracefully and affectionately. Wherever she walked, there would be flowers blooming with every step she took. Then, the long and large wedding dress would be ignited. Xia Yan scratched her head and imagined that the white wedding dress would turn into a red shoa. TSK. That's a good match. Oh, my face is so hot. Xia Yan blushed and couldn't help but reach out to fan her face. Hai Tianqing and Li Wei looked at Xia Yan in bewilderment, wondering what was wrong with her again. Xia Yan glared at them and then carefully looked at Han Jiangshu, only to realize that she was immersed in the atmosphere of absorbing the star technique and didn't notice anything at all. Xia Yan breathed a sigh of relief and turned to look at Jiang Shao, wondering why Pippi didn't rebuke her. Only then did she realize that Jiang Shao was holding on to another set of star beads and spacing out. Jiang Shao didn't know that Sinful Xia and Han Jiangshu had already completed the wedding in their dreams. At this moment, He was simply looking at the information given in the internal star map and feeling secretly astonished. He had seen star techniques that had explosive output, but he had never seen one that had an additional star technique that could absorb mana. If the contestants from Haisu and Zhejiang had those star techniques, would they still be able to participate in the competition? Besides, the big shots of Beijiang are really putting in a lot of effort. How can they give away such precious star beads? Electric Ring Star Bead Gold Quality Star Technique 1. Side of Lightning. Passive technique. When you receive an attack, your body will release a small amount of blitz bolts that hover in the air, lingering around you and slowly spreading in all directions. Any target that collides with the blitz bolts will be attacked by the blitz bolts and have a slight numbing effect. Silver Quality Upgradable 2. Electric Ring. Condenses star power and uses the user as the center to create a rapidly expanding electric ring that shocks and numbs the enemy. Silver Quality Upgradable 3. Electric Death. Consumes a large amount of star power and summons a special electric ring. The released electric ring will increase in damage as the extent of expansion increases. When this special electric ring expands to its limit, it will rapidly shrink and cause secondary damage to the target inside the electric ring. It will reduce and carry the target's star power until the electric ring is retracted into the caster's body and replenish the caster's star power. Gold Quality Upgradable. Do you want to absorb them together? Screw you! Jiang Shao couldn't help but curse. It was no wonder that Rules Awakened were the symbol of the king. It was no wonder that the media was clamoring to call Rules Awakened the king. How could Melee and Rules Awakened compare? There's too much of a difference in terms of star techniques, power, efficacy, quality. In particular, if the Thunder and Lightning Awakened reached a certain level, there would no longer be a need for them to cooperate with others. They don't need teammates at all. Are they going to disregard their family and friends when they're in a frenzy? Having teammates around them would only be a burden, wouldn't it? Even if the Thunder and Lightning Awakened wanted to take care of their teammates, they might accidentally injure the star technique. Don't swear. A hand suddenly pressed on Jiang Zhao's head and rubbed it forcefully. Jiang Shao frantically broke free and turned around, only to see Han Jiangxue reproaching him and the crimson glow in her eyes. She seems to have just absorbed a certain star technique? Otherwise, there wouldn't be red astral power circulating in those pitch-black eyes. Which star technique did you absorb? Jiang Shao frantically asked. You rascal, you don't care about your sister at all. You've already absorbed 2 star techniques. Xia Yan exclaimed with pride and pride written all over her face. Han Jiangxue said, the flame shield and the flame rejection. Xia Yan pursed her lips and said, unfortunately, I didn't absorb the flame flower. She didn't manage to absorb what she wanted the most. Her dream marriage seemed to have been broken. Jiang Shao asked in shock. You absorbed 2 star techniques with just 3 star beads? 1 silver grade and 1 gold grade? Han Jiangxue nodded and answered calmly, yeah, remember, don't swear. It was as if her feat was not as important as persuading Jiang Shao to use civilized language. Oh my god! Jiang Shao rubbed his buzzcut and asked, how compatible are you with the fire star technique? Wait, something's not right. Previously, when Han Jiangxue absorbed the star torch bead, only 2 out of 5 star beads succeeded. Seems like the increase in star power realm is also beneficial for the awakened to absorb star techniques. Chapter 309. Han Jiangxue summoned the star map, after which a beautiful white flame's star map slowly bloomed. No one would get sick of looking at a flame star map with 30 star slot. There are a total of 30 star slots. What kind of godly talent is this? On the 9th and 10th star slots, there were 2 more star beads, 1 silver and 1 gold. Clearly, they were the flame shield and flame rejection. Wow! Xia Yan's beautiful eyes glistened and she reached out to touch the dreamlike floating golden star slot. Just like how she counted Jiang Zhao's star slots before the expedition, she seemed to like doing it very much. Han Jiangxue looked at the hand that was being extended towards her, and she couldn't help but have an urge to try the flame rejection. Hence, she really did it. At the next moment, a crimson ring of flames suddenly appeared and dispersed towards the surroundings. The ring of flames was initially tangible, but when it was 3 meters away from Han Jiangxue, it immediately disappeared without a trace. Compared to the thin flames attached to the surface, the rich star power inside the flames was the focus. All of a sudden, there was no one within 3 meters of Han Jiangxue. Everyone in the team retreated one after another. Xia Yan, Li Wei, and Hai Tianqing leaned forward and arched their legs. They slid all the way out and only stopped after sliding for about 5 meters. Jiang Shao was in a miserable state. Compared to the others, his reaction was a little slower, and he completely turned into Xiaopi and rolled away. Xia Yan humphed unhappily and muttered, "What's going on? I can at least touch Xiaopi, but you won't even let me touch it." Han Jiangxue was dumbfounded. Jiang Shao rolled and sat on the ground. He scratched his head and said, "Your ring of flames is spreading parallel to the ground. What if I attack you from the air? What if I lay on the ground and attack you?" Han Jiangxue frowned and thought about it. More than 10 seconds later, several rings of flames suddenly appeared on her body and spread out in all directions. Ka-cha! The floor and ceiling of the hotel cracked and seemed to be on the verge of catching on fire. There was a huge commotion in the room, and everyone frantically tried to put out the fire. They reckoned that they would have to pay a hefty sum of money. After the situation was under control, Han Jiangxue felt a little embarrassed. As a warm and kind man, Hai Tianqing hurriedly helped Han Jiangxue out of the predicament. "We can only stay in the hotel to experiment with our star technique. There's nothing we can do about it. Don't worry, I'll talk to the hotel about the compensation." Xia Yan said nonchalantly, "Yeah, Shue, it's just a trivial matter. If it can be solved with money, it won't be a problem." Li Wei said, "It's necessary to experiment with star techniques." Jiang Shao also knew how to be a kind man. Although he had no money, he had a mouth. "Your time is very precious. There's no time to blame yourself. Hurry and take a look at the star bead of the electric ring." Han Jiangxue was speechless. Everyone gathered together and studied the star techniques carefully. Out of the few star techniques, the one that attracted Han Jiangxue the most was the gold-quality lightning death. The fast electric halo that was spread out could actually shrink. Not only would it cause secondary damage, but it could also bring back the enemy's star power. That star technique was really domineering. However, Han Jiangxue didn't really like the other 2 star techniques that came with the star bead. At the end of the day, the fast electric halo and the fast electric halo were more inclined to defense. Beneath Han Jiangxue's cold and stiff face was a violent and aggressive heart. At least the fast electric halo had some special trick. As for the other 2 star techniques, how much are these star beads worth? Han Jiangxue suddenly asked. Everyone was stunned. What does Han Jiangxue mean? She doesn't want the star bead of the electric ring? How high is this chick's standards? She doesn't even want such a powerful star technique? In fact, Han Jiangxue really felt that it was enough for her to have the chain lightning. With a solemn expression, Hai Tianqing looked at Han Jiangxue and said, "There are 3 star techniques in the electric ring. Any one of them will give you a qualitative improvement in strength, especially the fast electric halo. Although it's only a silver-quality star technique, it's the nemesis of melee combat." Han Jiangxue nodded and said, "I know the significance of the paralysis effect, but the fast electric bullet will also affect the teammates next to me." Hai Tianqing said, "Although it's triggered passively, it's activated automatically. You can activate it according to the situation and it might even save your life." Trust me, any star technique in this star bead is qualified to occupy one of your star slot. Hai Tianqing tried to persuade Han Jiangxue again, but she turned to look at Jiang Shao. Jiang Shao somewhat understood Han Jiangxue's preferences. After pondering for a while, he said, "Humans have to have dreams. What if I absorb the fast electric halo?" Although Jiang Shao said that, deep down, he was thinking that it wouldn't be a loss. Yes, Hai Tianqing was right. No matter which star technique Han Jiangxue absorbed, it wouldn't be a loss. After hearing Xiaopi's words, Han Jiangxue frowned and pondered for a while. She then took out a gold-quality star bead from her pocket. It was a blue-crowned star bead given to her by the Xia family. After they experienced the invasion of the Snowfield mercenaries, Xia Shanhai, the patriarch of the Xia family, gave them 2 gold-quality star beads, white crown and blue crown, in order to thank them for taking care of Xia Yan. Due to the fact that it was rare, precious, and had overlapping effects, Jiang Shao did not accept the white crown star bead. Due to its rarity and preciousness, Jiang Shao accepted the blue crown star bead on behalf of Han Jiangxue. It contained 2 star techniques: light blue scepter, scepter stabbed into the ground, ranged lightning attack, and dark blue scepter, held in hand, inflict damage, large attack range. Han Jiangxue said, "This is the blue crown star bead that Uncle Xia gave me. If I absorb the light blue scepter in it, I won't have to think about the fast electric ring star bead anymore." Clearly, Han Jiangxue was really stubborn Han. She seemed to be really uninterested in defensive star techniques, and would rather have an operational earth scepter than emit the fast electric bullets and electric rings from her body. Or did she think that absorbing 2 Fire Series defensive star techniques was enough? Jiang Shao really wanted to say, "You might not be able to absorb it." Well, however, he dared not say it, for fear of getting beaten up. There was nothing more truthful than this reason. In front of everyone, Han Jiangxue crushed the star bead and bits of star sand flowed out of her slender fingers, turning into starlight that dissipated in the air. Everyone looked at Han Jiangxue expectantly, only to realize that her face was getting stiffer and stiffer, seemingly a little infuriated. Jiang Shao comforted her. "Don't blame yourself. It's normal for you not to be able to absorb such a gold-quality star technique." Han Jiangxue opened her eyes and there seemed to be an electric current flashing through them. At the next moment, a dark blue scepter appeared in her hand. Everyone was speechless. Jiang Shao had seen this scepter before. During the Provincial League, Yu Zhen had used it before. Instant release, light damage, explosive output. Dark blue scepter. Uses star power to create a scepter that attacks the target with thunder and lightning. The electric current that surges down will spread in all directions and continue to damage the surrounding unit. Han Jiangxue did not absorb the scepter that was inserted into the ground as she wished. Instead, she absorbed a star technique that was a combination of point and surface. However, its effect was somewhat different from that of the chain lightning. At least, the attack range was worlds apart. For example, Han Jiangxue could not throw the chain lightning over the top of a mountain far away, but the dark blue scepter was an all-encompassing cannon that could hit anything within sight, of course. The so-called within sight was only a description of the attack range of the star technique. It was not really boundless. For example, Han Jiangxue could see the sun completely, but she could not hit the sun with a bolt of lightning. The dark blue scepter was considered a point injury, while the chain lightning was considered a line injury. If she were to receive a surface injury from the star technique, she should be able to graduate right. Henceforth, the goddess Xue from Beijiang province could also be given the title of King of Lightning. Looking at Han Jiangxue's sullen expression, Jiang Shao said weakly, "Give up your feudal resistance." Han Jiangxue turned to look at Jiang Shao, who was already prepared for it. He pulled Xia Yan in front of him and blocked Han Jiangxue's line of sight. Xia Yan was dumbfounded. Xia Yan looked at Han Jiangshue's displeased expression and retreated while grumbling at Jiang Shao. Are you silly? She's still holding onto the dark blue scepter. How dare you provoke her? Jiang Shao said meekly and said in the most domineering tone, What a joke. I'm still holding on to a blessing. Is there anyone in this world that I dare not provoke? Whooshed upon hearing his words, Han Jiangshue propped up a translucent crimson flame shield on her body. Immediately after, the pair of eyes behind the translucent flame shield looked over, and the meaning behind it was very obvious. Xia Yan panicked a little and asked, Is your blessing okay? Jiang Shao really refused to believe it. He hid behind Xia Yan and raised his hand to cast a blessing. The holy pillar of light enveloped Han Jiangshue and the shield. Next, Han Jiangshue's alluring voice could be heard. Xia Yan widened her eyes and opened her mouth slightly. Wow! It was clearly written on the flame shield that it was used to block damage. Is my blessing considered an injury? Is it considered an attack? No. This is love. It's love. Do you understand? This is the deepest love from an assistant father. I don't care if you're an enemy or a friend. I don't care if you're a super ghost or super god. In my eyes, everyone is the same. As long as I'm around, fatherly love is around. Chapter 310. Han Jiangshue was well aware of Blessing's arrangements and she blushed, feeling a little awkward. Jiang Shao initially thought that she would overreact, but things were beyond his expectations. Stubborn Han became obedient Han. Although she was indignant, she was a trustworthy person. She kept her promise and scurried to the side to absorb the 3-star beads. Jiang Shao and Xia Yan looked at each other, for they never expected Han Jiangshue to be so obedient. Unfortunately, after absorbing the 3-star beads, Han Jiangshue only acquired 1-star technique. Besides, it was the 2nd-star technique, Lightning Halo. Jiang Shao felt that if he were to become a postgraduate student one day or join a Star Warriors research institution, it would be a good research topic. Would the emotions of Star Warriors affect the success rate of star technique absorption? When she was absorbing the blue crown star bead just now, Han Jiangshue put in all her effort and succeeded in one try. As for the star beads that she didn't like, she only managed to absorb one of them even though there were 3. Such a success rate might be considered high for others, but to Han Jiangshue, it was barely satisfactory. In the end, Han Jiangshue still obtained the Lightning Halo, a star technique that attacked indiscriminately. It was a defensive star technique that was very suitable for being sandwiched or attacked from all directions. Especially for melee fighters, the Lightning Halo was really disgusting. For example, when Han Jiangshue encountered some targets that were extremely fast and she couldn't aim at them at all, or when there were players like Liu Yang who were invisible and shuttling in shadows, Han Jiangshue's dark blue scepter and chain lightning would obviously not be able to touch the corners of the enemy's clothes or find them. However, this lightning halo could directly electrocute a close-range melee combatant to death under its feet. At this point Han Jiangshue had just entered the galaxy and acquired 2 silver and 2 gold star techniques, all of which were extremely functional star technique. Everyone was very satisfied with them. Hai Tianqing took the opportunity to say to Han Jiangshue, "Let's do it in one go. Absorb the fallen shadow which star bead 2. Xiaopi has been begging me for a long time." Li Wei didn't know anything, but Han Jiangshue and Xia Yan knew very well why he wanted the fallen shadow which star bead. It would be impossible to say that the gold quality fallen shadow which star bead was not attractive to Han Jiangshue. However, between the star bead and shrimpy, Han Jiangshue was very determined to choose the star bead. "No, it's shrimpy," Han Jiangshue said. "Teacher, I'm very tired and I've been tensed up. I need to calm down." Hai Tianqing hurriedly agreed. "The competition is on the 13th. We still have 2 days left. There's no hurry." At this time, Everyone was in an empty room that was cleaned up by the hotel. Hai Tianqing continued, "If you're tired, let's disperse first. After lunch, have a good rest. Come here on time at 7 o'clock in the evening. We'll discuss how to deal with the enemy. You've just obtained some new star techniques, and we need to get used to them." Li Wei nodded. After absorbing the star technique, it was time to figure out how to fight. Ever since the preliminary round began, everyone had seen the performance of Beijiang Province on television and the internet. When the results of the preliminary round were announced to the public, everyone said that the team from Jiangbin High School was a dark horse. However, before the news of Han Jiangshue's advancement to the Galaxy stage spread, everyone was pessimistic about the team from Jiangbin High School. After all, Jiangbin High School's opponent was Great Bay High School, which was led by Yuan Qinghua. Yuan Qinghua was not only the best in the batch, but also a powerful agility warrior in the Galaxy stage. The team that she led was ranked first in the preliminary round. 200 teams, 800 young talents, they were the best in the preliminary round and were fully deserving of the title of kings. Even after Han Jiangshue advanced to the Galaxy stage, most of the media still looked down on Jiangbin High School. Although Han Jiangshue was a rules awakened, could she really complete the psychological transformation from a nebula stage to a galaxy stage in just a few days of preparation from May 10th to May 13th? She was still in the nebula stage when the preliminary round ended. Would she be able to acquire good star techniques? Would she be able to cooperate with the team and come up with reasonable star techniques? If the team still used her as a rules awakened in the nebula stage, wouldn't it be a waste of resources? It would be very difficult to defeat Great Bay High School in Nanyue Province, right? What if there was a change in tactics? Would there really be good results? Would such a change be good or bad? Would the sudden change in the state of the members really be beneficial to stability? All sorts of topics filled the news pages of China, and the topic of Yuan Qinghua versus Han Jiangshue was brought to the forefront. Ever since Han Jiangshue advanced to the Galaxy stage, she had been on the hot search list. Han Jiangshue, who was outstanding in terms of appearance, talent, and ability, finally made use of this trend to gain the attention of the world. Everyone in the team was affected too. For Xia Yan and Li Wei, who didn't manage Weibo much, it didn't matter. Once the comments were turned off, the world would be peaceful. On the other hand, Jiang Zhao's Weibo was extremely lively. There were praises, criticisms, and sarcasm. The number of toxic milk powder fans and anti-fans rose simultaneously. Between the true fans and anti-fans, another force broke through the obstacles and emerged suddenly. They even established their own sect. That was brother-in-law's fans. Yes, more and more people were addressing Jiang Shao as brother-in-law. At this moment, Jiang Shao had already been called the national brother-in-law. In response, Jiang Shao said, "You guys must be thinking too much. Little Jiangshue is mine. Mine." The competition authorities were also deliberately creating hype. After all, they wanted the viewership ratings too. Hence, there were all sorts of angles and gimmicks. King versus Dark Horse, Old King versus New King. Jiang Shao didn't care about the new deity or the old king. After all, no matter who ascended to the throne, they would still be his beloved son. At this moment, Jiang Shao cared about the three fallen shadow which star beads the most. After the team dispersed and returned to the room to rest, Jiang Shao sneaked into Han Jiangshue's room while Li Wei went to the bathroom. In order not to arouse suspicion, Han Jiangshue was, of course, holding the fallen shadow which star bead. The secret code for knocking on the door was 2-3-2-3. While knocking on the door, Jiang Shao thought to himself, "You're single. I don't have a girlfriend." Kacha. Husky indeed opened the door. Jiang Shao strode in quickly. Although it was broad daylight, the curtains were drawn and the lights were lit. He reckoned that they were afraid that the paparazzi would secretly take pictures. Although they were on the 23rd floor, the camera effects of the group of people were insane. Are you confident about upgrading the quality? Han Jiangshu asked. I think so. Give it to me, I'll give it a try. Jiang Shao pretended to be unsure. Han Jiangshu said, It's in the bathroom. Xia Yan opened the door of the bathroom for Jiang Shao with a smile on her face and a hint of threat in her tone. If you can't upgrade the quality, I'll lock you up until tomorrow morning as a punishment. Jiang Shao blinked and suddenly licked his lips excitedly. Are you going to do something to me at night? I can. Before Jiang Shao could finish his sentence, the infuriated Xia Yan kicked him in. Bang! Xia Yan closed the door and stomped her feet in anger. Damn you, Jiang Xiaopi! I'll teach you a lesson after the National League. Who asked you to be so mischievous every day? Xia Yan immediately thought of something and thought, this damned guy seems to be getting stronger and stronger. At the very least, I can't beat him in swordsmanship anymore. Damn it, it's clearly the Xia family's swordsmanship, but an outsider has mastered it. It's really like teaching a disciple to die of hunger. Han Jiangshu turned around and couldn't help but smile and shake her head when she saw how angry Xia Yan was. The bathroom was a small enclosed room, and when she checked in, she had already checked carefully to make sure that there were no surveillance devices. Hence, it was relatively safe. Jiang Shao looked at the fallen shadow, which star bead in his hand, and felt rather emotional. Ever since he arrived in this world, he had seen all sorts of people and encountered many powerhouses, but none of them had any platinum-quality star techniques. Jiang Shao had never seen any platinum-quality star techniques before. In the social level that Jiang Shao could currently come into contact with, gold-quality star techniques represented the king and the highest quality. Now Jiang Shao was finally going to break the so-called top quality. 2 fallen shadow witch star beads. Let's go enmity, gold quality LV 6 LV 8 counter, current light, gold quality LV 6 LV 8 sound of silence, gold quality LV 8, 9 out of 100, sound of silence upgraded. Platinum quality LV 0. Jiang Shao suppressed the excitement in his heart and thought, did I get rid of the zeros? However, he no longer had time to think about that. He hurriedly opened the internal star map and found the introduction of Sound of Silence. Platinum quality Sound of Silence. Consumes a large amount of star power and stops all sounds. Prevents all targets in a specific area from using star technique. Causes the star power of all targets in the area to become agitated and chaotic, causing a heavy blow to the target. Jiang Shao raised his eyebrows and thought, is this an additional effect that's hidden in the dark? When Jiang Shao cast Sound of Silence on others previously, the star power in their bodies would also become chaotic and would not listen to the master's instructions. It would scatter around and cause great trouble for the master. It would even affect the master's movements and bodily functions. The female zombies in the ancient imperial mausoleum all coughed frantically and requested to be added as friends. Their pale faces were flushed because of Jiang Zhao's Sound of Silence. Jiang Shao still remembered that scene deeply. However, that was only the additional effect of gold-quality Sound of Silence that was not reflected in the introduction. Now that this additional effect was mentioned, the meaning behind it was obvious. From now on, silence, it can also smash someone to death. If the enemy were to use an ultimate move and I cast Sound of Silence on them, would the star power in their bodies go berserk and they would vomit blood and die? Damn it. This star technique is toxic, isn't it? Why did you secretly add an offensive star technique to the auxiliary star technique? How are others supposed to play? I just want to be a gentle and kind doctor. P. Chapter 3:11. Jiang Shao was excited for a long time and was overjoyed. He stared at the platinum-quality star bead again and again, feeling like he was dreaming. By the way, I still have a fallen shadow witch star bead with me. What should I do with it? Should I give it to Han Jiangxue? My enmity and countercurrent light are both gold quality level 8. If I absorb this one, it will become level 9. I'm just short of 2 more platinum quality star techniques. It was really annoying. It would be better if Han Jiangxue absorbed Sound of Silence, but if she absorbed brass quality enmity, it would basically be useless. After all, she couldn't upgrade the quality of her star techniques. As for countercurrent light, Jiang Shao had the star technique that was enlarged and thickened. Normal countercurrent light wouldn't be worthy of taking up one of Han Jiangxue's star slots. Jiang Shao thought about it and realized that he had already come this far. He was just one step away from it. The fallen shadow witch star bead in his hand disappeared without a trace. Enmity, gold quality level 8-9. Countercurrent light, gold quality level 8-9. Sound of Silence, platinum quality, LV0 LV0, 1 out of 10. Should I go to the leaders and ask for a few more fallen shadow witch star beads? Wouldn't I seem particularly shameless? Come to think of it, winning in the ring would be the most shameless thing, right? Losing would be the most embarrassing thing, wouldn't it? Platinum quality enmity and platinum quality countercurrent light can help me and let us shine. People like Jiang Shao would be able to get rid of the struggle in his heart in just a few moments and go on his way with ease. Xiaopi, how is it? Xia Yan asked softly from outside the door. Although Jiang Shao did not struggle for long, he looked at the platinum quality star bead and laughed foolishly for a while. Xia Yan had an impatient temper. She had been standing at the door with her ear pressed against it, carefully listening to the movements inside. Although Xia Yan was obsessed with Husky, she also knew the importance of upgrading the quality. Hence, she suppressed her temper and waited patiently outside, not daring to disturb Jiang Shao. However, as time passed, she vaguely heard Jiang Zhao's laughter. Xia Yan couldn't hold it in anymore. She bent her finger and knocked on the door gently. Xiaopi? Han Jiangxue couldn't help but look over and glare at Xia Yan with a reproachful expression. She sat on the bed and pretended to watch TV. She then reached out and lashed out with the whip. Alarmed, Xia Yan hurriedly ignited flames on her arm and covered it with thick star power to resist. The golden flame torch whip was tied to Xia Yan's arm and Han Jiangxue pulled her over gently. At this moment, Xia Yan froze in shock. It was because Xia Yan could clearly sense the change in Han Jiangxue's power. She initially thought that the situation would be a stalemate, but to her surprise, Han Jiangxue dragged her over. However, Xia Yan was Xia Yan after all. Although she was astonished, she immediately shifted her attention. It was because she realized that she was pouncing towards Han Jiangxue's arms. Not only did Xia Yan no longer resist, she even exerted more force in her legs and pounced on her like a hungry tiger. Han Jiangxue got a great shock and tried to hold herself back. She almost used the rejection of flames to push Xia Yan away. Using the whip was already a form of punishment for Xia Yan. After all, she had disturbed Jiang Shao. If she were to use the rejection of flames again, Xia Yan would probably burst into tears. Han Jiangxue gave up on using the rejection of flames and Xia Yan got what she wanted. Dong! The two of them hugged each other and fell onto the bed. As for why there was a loud thud, it was because Han Jiangxue was flustered and Xia Yan was excited. Hence, their foreheads collided first. Although the two of them hugged each other and rolled around on the bed in a disheveled manner, the two of them pouted their lips, covered their heads, and teared up in pain at the same time. At the same time, Jiang Shao walked out of the bathroom and happened to see such a scene, which made him almost die of joy. To be honest, Jiang Zhao's first reaction was not to yell, "Thief!" Instead, he thought of a piece of news that happened during the Lunar New Year. It was said that a husky was extremely excited to see its owner return home. It jumped down from the 3rd floor and pounced on its owner, causing her to fracture her bones and send her to the hospital. Jiang Shao looked at Han Jiangxue, who was pouting and feeling aggrieved, and wanted to make a sad expression at her. However, he couldn't do it. Why? Because Jiang Shao was too busy being happy and couldn't be sad at all. Xia Yan must be a godlike existence to be able to make Han Jiangxue show such an expression. After a while, the sad atmosphere finally eased up. Jiang Shao walked over, and under Xia Yan's murderous gaze, a white ray of light appeared in Jiang Zhao's hands. He then pressed them on their foreheads. What's the result? Han Jiangxue asked. After experiencing the baptism of blessings multiple times, the two of them were very resistant to the simple version of blessings. Hence, they didn't show much reaction. With a smile on his face, Jiang Shao couldn't help but think about the scene just now. Fortunately, Han Jiangxue and Xia Yan took his smile as a sign of success, and both of them were overjoyed. Jiang Shao nodded and said, "I've used Sound of Silence many times and trained a lot. I'm just short of the final push and the help of this star bead to help me break through the quality. I succeeded just now." Xia Yan licked her soft lips and raised her head with a scorching gaze in her eyes, as if she was a shark that had smelled blood. Platinum quality. Upon hearing this, Han Jiangxue also realized that what Jiang Shao had done was truly an unprecedented feat that no one else would be able to achieve. Unfortunately, Jiang Zhao's name was not immediately recorded in history because he was destined to hide everything. Jiang Shao didn't care about that at all. To him, brocade clothes were meant to be worn at night. "Let me see," Xia Yan said frantically. Jiang Shao nodded immediately. There was no reason for him to turn her down, but he specially reminded her, "Promise me, don't pounce on me and hit my head. I'm not as headstrong as little Jiangxue." Xia Yan was dumbfounded. Han Jiangxue blushed and wanted to say something, but in the end she coughed and said, "You." Ahem. Jiang Shao was stunned. Why is there a need for Sound of Silence? Does my verbal cannon have the effect of Sound of Silence too? Look at little Jiangxue, she's almost coughing up internal injuries. Looking at Han Jiangxue's gaze that was gradually turning cold, Jiang Shao panicked and hurriedly said with a smile, "I'll light up the star map for you guys to see." Jiang Shao then opened his Big Dipper star map. In an instant, the room was filled with dazzling starlight. In the spoon-shaped Big Dipper star map, there was 1 silver, 3 gold, and 1 platinum. Due to the fact that Jiang Shao had absorbed the maximum number of star techniques in each of his star beads, the number of star slots occupied by Jiang Shao was actually very small, even though he had a lot of star technique. At the very most, he had only used 5 star slots. Others might not know, but Han Jiangxue and Xia Yan were very clear that there were 11 star techniques embedded in the 5 star slots. Besides, they were all high-quality star techniques. Even those who didn't know the truth would probably be dumbfounded when they saw that Jiang Shao only had 5 star slots lit up, but there was a combination of 1 silver, 3 gold, and 1 platinum. Most people would probably rub their eyes and think that they had seen wrongly. Is this platinum? Xia Yan's eyes were in a daze as she knelt on the bed and reached out to touch the floating star map. It's platinum. It's luxurious platinum. The color of the silver star slot was similar to that of the platinum star slot, but upon closer inspection, one could indeed tell the difference. After all, the quality was different, and the aura that it exuded was definitely different too. Although Sound of Silence was the only platinum-quality star technique among the 3 star techniques in 1 star slot, the star slot still changed its color and texture, appearing in front of everyone's eyes like a dream. Have you never seen a platinum star technique or a platinum star technique before? Jiang Shao asked softly. Xia Yan's eyes were in a daze as she gently tapped the platinum star slot with her slender fingers, causing the layers of nebulas to surround the star slot. She seemed to be depicting something. Jiang Shao continued to ask, "Uncle Xia doesn't have one either?" Xia Yan shook her head and murmured softly, "I don't know, I've never seen one before." Jiang Shao frowned slightly and thought, even someone like Xia Shanhai doesn't have a platinum star technique? Come to think of it, I've never seen a platinum star slot on second last, either. She's a member of the light-chasing team, a special team in the Guardians of the Night. Although they're the light-chasing team's tail feather team and are ranked at the bottom in terms of strength, they're still of a high standard, after all. Are platinum-quality star techniques really that rare? So, have I finally evolved into the naughty god? While thinking about it, Xia Yin muttered softly, Xiaopi, you've used more blessings. You must not have enough star beads. I must buy you a lot of white ghoul, which star beads to make this star map more beautiful. Jiang Shao lowered his head and saw that Xia Yin was in a daze. So, does she like shiny things, or does she like my star chart? Or does she like me? You bastard! Not only have you fallen, you even want to drag me down with you? I've also made the same oath as you. Dream on. Xia Yin. I'm the one you'll never get. Daddy. Chapter 312. It was Friday, May 13, 2016. China Central Television. China Central Television. Hello, everyone. You are now watching the opening ceremony of the 38th National High School League. This is the People's Stadium of Chang'an City. I'm the host, Kai Xiaoqi. After a young man in a suit introduced himself, he deliberately paused while the female host on the other side said, I'm the host, Yi Xuanyang. The host, Kai Xiaoqi, said, Yes, I believe everyone has already watched the preliminary round that ended 3 days ago. It was an exciting battle, the host praised while sitting in the seat. In the stadium, which could accommodate 58,000 people, there were already no empty seats. The huge stadium was full of people and the cheers and whistles of the audience were endless. Jiang Shao saw many spectators who were waving their national flags and had painted faces. He reckoned that they should be supporters of the national team. As long as they saw the children grow up healthily and bravely, they would be proud of their country, regardless of which side won. Of course, it was also possible that their province did not have a representative team in the top 8. Under the lead of the beautiful ladies, the top 8 teams of the national team circled around the stadium and finally stood still in the middle of the huge football field. Although there were only 8 teams, there were plenty of performers and staff who participated in the opening ceremony. Hence, the large stadium did not seem empty. Since they could enter the top 8, there was no such thing as a weakling. The group of students had long been secretly sizing each other up. In fact, they all knew in their hearts that in secret, they had already thoroughly studied each other's strength and the tactics they used were very thorough. Among the top 8, the only team that Jiang Shao was lucky enough to know was the Tianjin team. They had indeed advanced and were in 4th place. Hence, they had the advantage of choosing the venue. It was just like choosing a side at the start of the football field. Rather than an advantage, it was more of a psychological advantage that could be expressed in a simple manner. The beautiful Kai Yao was flirting with Jiang Shao again. During one of the few occasions when they made eye contact, Kai Yao winked at Jiang Shao playfully with her left eye. However, Jiang Shao did not dare to be mischievous. It was a national competition and there were 10,000 cameras filming. Any small movements could be captured. Jiang Shao had even thought of the news headlines for the next day. Heartless toxic healer's heart is as firm as a rock. All he sees is victory. Kai Jiaren's flirting failed and can only feel dejected. Wow, it was great. Fortunately, there weren't too many awkward scenes. After the top 8 teams stood in their respective positions, the team from Beijiang Province stood at the edge while the team from Tianjin, which was ranked 4th, stood in the middle. In fact, the Tianjin team was not the only one that Jiang Shao knew. He had also dealt with another team before, but the experience was unpleasant. Yes, it was the opponent of Jiangbin High School, Great Bay High School. Yuan Qinghua didn't show anything. As a young girl, Everyone could see a trace of nervousness in her actions. However, the two foreign aides, Deng Xiang and Gong Yuga, who had transferred from other provinces, were very arrogant. After all, they were all young people. Moreover, their team was ranked first in the overall ranking. How could they not have some pride? A beating will do. Due to the fact that the first and eighth contestants were placed side by side, Jiang Shao saw the look of disdain in Gong Yuga's eyes. Jiang Shao didn't show any extreme behavior. He simply rubbed his nose, seemingly reminding everyone that Gong Yuga's nose was smashed and bleeding during their first meeting. Gong Yuga's disdainful gaze changed slightly, and his face was extremely gloomy. The noisy stadium quietened down a little while the leaders on the stage gave the opening speech. The 8 teams were dressed in the red and white school uniforms that were specially custom-made by the competition authorities, making them look like a team. Although the uniforms were part of the commercial endorsement, Jiang Shao liked the school uniforms very much because they were very similar to those worn by national athletes in the Olympics. The lengthy speeches of the leaders were finally over, and it was finally time for the opening ceremony. The 8 teams also walked out of the stadium under the lead of the hostess and entered the locker room in the stadium. However, Jiang Shao and the others saw a few familiar faces in front of the players' tunnel. They were from Xindon Creek High School number 11. Xiaopi! Xiaopi! I'm here! And Luming had the word poison painted on her left cheek and the word milk painted on her right cheek. She jumped up and down and waved at Jiang Shao continuously. And Yu, who was equally lively, also stood up and waved at the representatives of Jiangbin High School. Jiang Shao looked up in shock and happened to see the excited smiles on the faces of the 2 young nurses, as if they had forgotten that they were also participating in the competition. They reckoned that they felt honored to be participating in the competition from the same province. Ever since the provincial league, the 2 young nurses of the Yin family had become toxic milk powder. After all, they were women and unlike the male Wu Haoyang, they got along better with the people of Beijiang province. I understand the logic, but what does toxic milk powder mean? Is it really appropriate to paint my face like that? This is a very unique way of providing support, huh? When fans of other families support their idols, they would think of all sorts of ways and means to come up with nice slogans and nicknames for their idols. Yet, you 2 young nurses are so good. What the hell is toxic milk powder? You can't announce the truth to the public just because we're close to each other. Jiang Shao stood still and looked up awkwardly while waving his hand. He also saw Qian Zhuang giving him his blessings. Qian Zhuang didn't say anything and simply clenched his right fist and continuously gestured for him to cheer him on. Look at him, he's doing so well. Why does Wu Haoyang look so arrogant? Wu Haoyang crossed his arms in front of his chest like a coach. With a sullen expression, he nodded at Jiang Shao and said, "Not bad." Jiang Shao was dumbfounded. Not bad? That's a nice thing to say, but your attitude is a little strange. Jiang Shao scratched his head and looked up to yell, "You're a participant too. Don't stand there foolishly and watch. Come down and compete with me." Wu Haoyang was speechless. Jiang Shao chuckled and asked, "I remember that you're a beast." Wu Haoyang snorted and said, "Personal heroism is intolerable. You're not a child anymore. There's a reason why there are only 4 participants. Don't keep thinking about going alone. Teamwork is everything." Wu Haoyang then turned around and sat down. Jiang Shao looked at Wu Haoyang in bewilderment, feeling rather stunned for the first time. This guy is so shameless? You're the one who said that beasts should go alone, and you're also the one who said that teamwork is paramount. Damn it, Unluming placed her hands around her mouth like a loudspeaker and yelled, "Jiang Xiaopi! Go all out and fight. Don't worry about the consequences. You won't die with me around. Let's kill them recklessly and show that Gong Buge what we're capable of." Jiang Shao nodded profusely, but he was also pushed into the players' tunnel by Hai Tianqing. Everyone knew that Unlooming was referring to Gong Yuga from Great Bay High School. That kid was very capable, and it was impossible for him to be weak since he was in the top team. However, that brat had said words that exceeded his own strength. His appearance of a fox borrowing the tiger's might was very loathsome. Just yesterday, the media had broadcasted a short video that was 2 minutes and 40 seconds long. This video was obviously shot secretly, and the location was probably in the hotel. Gong Yuga seemed to be chatting with someone and answered a few questions. Worried? I've never been worried before. Dark Horse? Ha, everyone knows how they got shortlisted. Don't mention it, it's so embarrassing. There were so many teams that helped them get shortlisted. Anyone with a discerning eye can tell. They stumbled and came in 8th place. You guys know how many points the Kainan province team gave up? Han Jiangxue of the Galaxy stage? Of course she's strong. She's worthy of everyone's respect. She can complete the feat of advancing to the Galaxy stage at the age of 18. Her abilities are beyond doubt. Wait a minute, who was the first to advance to the Galaxy stage? Oh right, I think it was our Yuan Qinghua. Han Jiangxue is indeed very strong, but unfortunately she ran into us. Jiang Xiaopi? Pushed, come on, he's just a liar who cozied up to us. Does he really think that he can survive for the rest of his life? Being able to enter the top 8 is already their limit. On the stage of the semifinals, even the greatest luck is no match for strength. You will see tomorrow. Dark Horse? Just them? Ha, stop talking, I feel like laughing. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.